Hello, everyone. Heisters, star holders, everyone out there interested in Starbreeze Studios. My name is Almir Listo. I will be your host for tonight. I am one of the developers at Starbreeze Studios. Really excited to have all of you here for Starstream, the premier event, Starbreeze event of the year. We've got a great lineup. I've got my cue cards ready. I'm really eager to get started. We've got a great show. A couple of things during the stream. We've got a social media channels up and running. If you want to talk to us somehow anyway, you want to ask us something, you want to ask me something, you want to ask our guests something, you can do that. Make sure you use the hashtag Starstream17. Starstream17. We are going to have a great show today. We're going to talk about Overkill's The Walking Dead. We've got some great guests here. We've got fellow developers. We've got legends, dare I say it. We've got Tim Schafer. We've got Warren Spector here at the studio, and a ton of different things. How about we just get started? Let's do this. Welcome back. With me for the first segment of the show, one of my favorite upcoming projects called Raid World War II, co-op first-person shooter. And with me here in the, next to me really, Ilya Petrusic, creative director of the game. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for flying up all the way from Zagreb in Croatia to be here with us.
No problem. It was a good flight.
Okay, good. I'm happy to hear that. So, we've known each other for a long time, right? Because you used to be a Starbreeze employee. Can you tell me a bit about your history as a game developer?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I go way back, basically, with especially Bo. I worked at Grin way
our
back.
CEO, Bo Anderson. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was one of the co-founders of Overkill.
Yeah, back in 2009.
2009, yeah. So 8 of us set out to, do some crazy stuff, and we started making Payday basically in a basement somewhere here in Stockholm. And then after Payday 1, when we started developing Payday 2, Starbreeze acquired Overkill. So it basically continued, and we worked under the Starbreeze flag. And then after Payday 2, me and my brother, who was also working here at the time, Nikita, we opened up Lion Game Lion, which is a developer down in Croatia, and since we had this close relationship with Starbreeze, we basically worked on some Payday content to start with.
Yeah, because we were like, let's do something together, right? And we needed more muscles on Payday 2, so we asked you guys, how about you guys do a couple of heists, a character, and you guys chipped in on Dragan, the Croatian heister.
Yeah, so
and you did a couple of cool heists.
Yeah, and also the contact, the butcher.
The butcher,
some Balkan flavor into Payday.
Yeah.
Then we did the casino heist, the Golden Grin. That we showed at E3 that year, and as well as some features like the fire weapon stuff and driving.
Yeah. And because you guys were a newly found studio, right? It was important for us as developers, and because Payday is our IP, we wanted to test you guys really and see what you got. And boy, you guys didn't disappoint at all, right? Those heists turned out great. The features that you guys pushed into Payday 2, like the driving mechanics and all that stuff, were great. So what happened was that we agreed on a publishing deal, right?
Yeah.
We pushed in $8 million into Raid and into Lion Game Lion because you guys had this crazy idea. Tell us about it.
Yeah, already, somewhere during Payday 2, we've been talking a little about, a World War II setting game and the whole co-op, endless replayability and the amount of enemies, sort of. It just felt like it would fit into that setting.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kept brewing in our minds for quite a while. And
I remember discussions going like, what if we could do a Payday 2 in World War II? And we were like, yeah! Everyone got super excited.
It's pretty easy to pitch,
Yeah, it's a pretty easy pitch.
It's basically, hey guys, let's do Payday 2, Inglourious Bastards, Kelly's Heroes, and mash them together.
But I think for Payday heisters out there, right, who's interested in finding new co-op games, in what way do you guys differentiate Raid to Payday, right? Because it has to be a different game.
Yeah, I think first of all, it's a little more, tongue-in-cheek. It's not your typical, you know, war is hell sort of setting. We have these 4 characters that have basically been in jail for a long time, and now.
Can you tell me more about the characters?
Yeah, so it's 4 different characters that's from different nationalities. It's a Russian, it's a German, it's a British, and an American guy that sort of have been assembled by a secret entity.
Like some kind of British intelligence, right?
Basically, yeah. And they're basically here to, you know, turn the war into the favor of the Allies. And the big thing is, you know, they've been prisoned into a 2-meter concrete block, and they haven't seen sunlight for so long. So for them, it's not war is hell. You know, it's almost like, oh, this is great. You know, we get to run around and shoot. And
so they've been in some kind of solitary confinement, like prisoners of war. And Mrs. White, I understand, she kind of saves these guys.
Yeah, so she saves them on the premise of them needing to help the Allies out winning the war.
Yeah,
because they need drastic measures. The war is not going well, and they need to do, you know. As we call it, it's a small cogs to destroy the big machine.
Yeah.
So they do the things that maybe not regular army guys can really do.
Yeah. And you being, I mean, we talked about your history with Starbreeze, right? And you now living in Croatia and pushing content with Raid together with your brother and your team. Still, you know, for heisters out there who are interested in new games and Raid particularly, right? Because it has the DNA of Payday, right?
Yeah.
Because you not only did you co-found Overkill, but you were also the lead level designer on both Payday the Heist and Payday 2.
Yeah.
So to me, that sounds like you're bringing a ton of experience into Raid.
Yeah. I mean, a good way to describe it, and it's because it comes from somebody else. And, you know, when you hear it, you're like, yeah, that's true, you know. It's very similar to Payday 2, but it's very different from Payday 2.
Yeah.
And it's basically the best way to describe it. It's you know, when we showed it at PAX and had Payday players play it, they would basically say the same thing. It's differently similar.
Yeah.
So I think, you know.
We showcased the game at PAX East in Boston this year. And how was the reception there?
It was insane. It was, I don't know if I've ever been at a game show and shown something where, you know, that the response was this positive. It was a lot of people coming over who've never played co-op games and being like, this is amazing, this is great, and finally a World War II shooter, and finally a World War II shooter where you know, it's not your typical, you know, the heavy and dark, and this is a little more humor. There's some dark humor in it, and these guys are, you know, it's almost like putting these 4 different characters into the same group, into this scenario, just braids for fun.
And I know, like, it's built on the same technology that Payday 2 is built on, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, with the Payday community, right? They have a lot to say about the diesel engine and so forth, right? But why did you guys decide on using diesel to make this game?
We started out, you know, making the DLC stuff for Payday, and it just felt like, you know, we know the tech. I knew the tech, and you know the senior
you've been working with diesel for the past 10
diesel
years,
is
right?
my life.
Yeah,
yeah, for 10, 11 years almost.
Yeah.
And it just felt right, and it's good for that kind of game. We did do quite a lot of enhancements, and it's running on 64-bits now, and we have, you know, streaming for fast loadings, and there's a bunch of stuff under the hood that we have worked on.
Yeah, and I think as well, I think it's difficult for people to realize how difficult it is to find it. You know what I mean, in a video game, right? Yeah. And because people seem to like Payday 2 a lot, right? It has a high replayability, and it's not that easy to replicate that in a different engine necessarily, right?
No, definitely not. Yeah. Not even in the same engine.
Yeah.
But you know, yeah.
So, what has been your main inspiration for the game?
Obviously, Payday. I mean, in terms of gaming and how the game works on a, you know, have fun level. Like the goal is to put 4 friends together on Skype or TeamSpeak or whatever you might use, and just have fun, you know. Yeah. But it's also to tell, you know, a story where not everything has to be grand, you know. Yeah. Not every fight in World War II was this big Omaha Beach epic things. There was always a group of people somewhere that did something that, you know, this turned one cog and eventually made a big change in, you know, in the war.
Yeah.
So it's nice to go into detail and maybe tell some of those, smaller stories.
Yeah, and I know, having worked with both you and Nikita, I know that Payday the Heist was really like, this is like a spiritual successor to Payday the Heist in many ways, right? Because for one thing, that I think this game is so great at doing is the talking between the characters, like the banter between the 4 characters.
Yeah.
I know that's something that players always wanted more of. That's something that you guys really nailed in this game.
Our producer hates us. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that we saw from the community, that they really like when the characters are in the world and they're talking and, they're basically reacting to what you're doing. And we put a lot of work, and I'm really proud of the team of what we could achieve on that part, because it's a lot.
So when it comes to post-launch, right? Because with Payday 2, because you guys are comparing it so much to this, right? We've been working on that game for the past 4 years post-launch. What's the plan with Raid World War II? What can players expect from this title post-launch?
More content, I think, especially when it comes to maps and stuff. I mean, we want players to have a lot of content to play in, So more maps, more of what we call operations is something that we have, where you play a longer arcing story across multiple maps. Maybe different chapters of the war, maybe some Africa, some Italy and France eventually, and just more stuff. I think a lot of the stuff in the game that we have is been designed to be able to grow in different directions. So I want to listen to the community and see, where they want to take it also, because in the end, these are the guys playing it. So
and I mean, you would know, having worked at and founding Overkill as well. So from what I understand, you have something special to show us from the development of the game.
That's right.
Yeah.
We had a really special guest coming in to do some live action for us. I think we have a video of it. Can we show that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Hello. Now, I'm Control, so listen carefully, please. The situation is this. Hitler is winning. So, we need drastic measures. And you are those measures. You're the best, most capable killers we can find. Your skills are second to none, you're survivors, and you get the job done. And the job that we need doing is winning this war. Churchill has given us a mission: attack the Reich any way we can. In short, set Europe ablaze, as it were. Our target: Hitler. That short-ass Kraut, his nasty Nazi friends and everything they stand for. We will be merciless. No rules. This isn't a gentleman's war. Blast their trains, blow their bridges, burn the enemy alive. Now, having read your files, I don't expect fellows like you to do this purely out of sense of duty. So if a little Nazi gold happens to go missing, no questions will be asked. History won't remember you, but your deeds will define it. Good luck.
All right, so wait a minute, Ilya. So you're telling me that John Cleese is going to give me missions when I play Raid?
The John Cleese, yes.
Wow. I mean, how was that?
That was great. It's basically working with a childhood hero. I mean, for a lot of us at the studio, a dream come true.
Yeah.
The footage you saw is basically not finished yet. It's a lot of it's still work in progress.
Because the game is still in development, right?
Yeah, but we couldn't wait, to show people that we have John Cleese on board.
Yeah, and I know being a game developer comes with some perks, right? So I know you had an opportunity to partake in the live action as well.
This is true, yeah.
Yeah.
I got to be touched by Mr. John Cleese.
So in order not to create weird images in people's minds, let's have a look at that footage.
Hello. Allow me to introduce General Reinig, one of Hitler's finest. Now, as you can see, he's dead. Definitely dead, yes. Never mind. He can still be useful, which reminds me, the letter, please. Thank you. Dear Mr. Hitler, couldn't have put it better myself. Now, make sure that Mr. Hitler gets this message before dawn. Okay, here we are. Excellent. This is going to be fun.
All right, back from the dead, Ilya.
My signature move.
Yeah, that was amazing. I mean, that must have been so much fun.
Yeah, there was an opportunity to sit down in a chair and be, you know, be in there. And
be dead and be touched by John Cleese.
Yeah.
I love it. And, you know, we've done a ton of live action stuff for Payday 2, so that's obviously, you know, playing on that as well. And I know for a fact that the Payday community enjoys those a lot. So great seeing that kind of stuff. The game looks amazing. The gameplay looks fantastic. I know you guys, just as us, live and die by gameplay. Yeah. That's the most important thing for us. Definitely. It needs to be fun, right? And it needs to be replayable. So any final words to share right now? How can we, if I'm interested in Raid, what do I need to do? Where do I need to go?
First of all, you go to our social channels.
Yeah.
So we have a Twitter handle, LionGameLion, @LionGameLion. You can find us on Facebook, and Raid also has its own Twitter handle called Raid World War II. So follow us and you'll get any news on
Thank you so much, Ilya. So this was Ilya Petrusic, creative director of Raid World War II, developed by LionGameLion in Croatia. Games slated for end of summer, right? Both for PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4. Yeah, what can I say? As a Payday fan, you know, Payday developer, I'm super eager to get my hands on this game.
Soon, TM.
Thank you so much, Ilya.
Thank you, guys.
All right. So next up, we're going to talk about one of the most anticipated titles in the history of Starbreeze Studios. I am, of course, talking about Overkill's The Walking Dead. We had the opportunity to sit down with Michael Cruz from our partners at Skybound last week and do a bit of talking about the game. Let's have a look. Hey everybody, we're here at our Stockholm studio showcasing the highly anticipated Overkill's The Walking Dead. With me on my right I have Saul Gascon, the executive producer on the game.
Hello everybody, and thanks Almir for the introduction. We are here today to talk for the first time about Overkill's The Walking Dead, our highly anticipated title. We have a team of around 80 people working really hard to bring the game alive. We wanted to bring everybody inside, but you know, we have some space restrictions here. So we have with us some of them. Petra Pino, associate producer.
Hello.
And Joachim Eriksson, our art director.
Hello.
And actually, from LA, we have as well Michael Cruz, which is joining us from Skybound. Hey, Michael.
Hello, everybody. Greetings from here at the Skybound studio in LA.
Cool. So we're all here. So where do we start?
There's so many things we can talk about, guys. Why don't we start with the basics? What is this game about?
So Overkill's The Walking Dead is a multiplayer online first-person shooter in which you will need to cooperate with your friends to fight your way through an apocalyptic Washington, D.C.
You'll scavenge loot, find other survivors, kill walkers.
Actually, a lot of walkers.
Yeah, but there's a human threat as well. I mean, there's going to be a lot of really bad guys out there. So.
Yeah, indeed. We're working really hard on the human enemies, and they're not going to make it easy for you to complete missions.
Yeah. No, you're going to be constantly fighting these other human survivors, and you know, while constantly having this threat from walkers as well. And I mean, we really want to immerse players in this unique, rich universe that Skybound has created. So
that sounds really exciting. How long are the missions going to be?
We designed the game in a way that players can jump in and out whenever they want. So they can do 1 mission, 5 missions, 20 missions, right? So sessions of like 15 minutes, right, to like 2 hours if they want to. The most important part, and what we've learned out of Payday 2, right, is that whenever you put up the game, fun is the main thing that we need to give you, right? So that's our main objective in the development team.
Exactly, and you'll always receive plenty of rewards every time you play, and it can be stuff like food, weapons, mods, and so on.
Hold on, is that the player camp? I'm sorry, I hadn't seen that concept art before, and it looks really good.
We're really happy with the results. The player camp is the main hub from which players will decide their next step, right? Where to go, what to fight against, etc., etc. Everything they will collect and loot, they will use it in the camp to create better defenses and protect the other survivors.
Yeah, And also in the camp, you will interact with other main characters and you know, meet other NPCs, and you will learn who they were and who they are now after the apocalypse.
You know, speaking about characters and stories, at the end of the day, I'm really excited about what we're building together, guys. We can't wait to see both Skybound and Overkill fans play this game.
Yeah, I think that the collaboration between our teams is invaluable, because here at Starbreeze, we know what kind of gameplay we want to produce, and then we have Skybound to match us, you know, and really help us enriching this universe that they created, you know, and like with interesting characters. And our main characters, the playable ones, are all going to have their own background stories. They're going to have their own like motivations, their own fears, and all that. And this is something that the players will unfold the more they play the game.
Exactly, and because each character is different, this is reflected in the way that you play them. They have their own skills, abilities, even preferred weapons. We're building a class-based system so that we set clear rules for players. They'll need to experiment with different characters and skills to find the best way to overcome the challenges we present to them.
For instance, in the video that you're seeing right now, you can see Heather. She's a scavenger class. So it's easier for her to find loot and to actually go sneaking through the levels. Like you see, for instance, in the video, she's taking down a walker with a silencer gun.
All right, we're running out of time. Thank you, Joachim, Petra, Saul, for taking the time out of your busy schedule. Thank you, Michael.
Almir, you always bring the bad news.
You know how it is. We've got a show to run, right? So we've got to head back to the studio, talk more about the other different projects we've got going. Saul, anything else to add on Oracle's The Walking Dead?
Well, I would like to say to all Overkill and Walking Dead fans that we're building a highly replayable co-op game. We're here for the long run, so we will keep supporting the game with new content after launch for years to come. What is important as well is that we've built the game based on the root of gameplay first from Payday 2. So I hope that you guys are as excited as we are with this game.
Thank you.
Awesome. Bye, everybody. Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks.
See ya.
All right, we're back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed watching some of that Walking Dead stuff. It looked amazing to me. I always get happy when I see it. And like you say in Swedish, den som väntar på något gott väntar aldrig för länge. Moving on. It's time to visit the realm of the entity and talk about our horror game that we're making together with Behavior in Canada, Dead by Daylight. With me on link all the way from Montreal is Mathieu Cote. Let's have a look and see if he's here with us. Mathieu, are you here?
Nope. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us for Starstream.
It's a pleasure.
Cool. So, Mathieu, can you tell us a bit about you and your role?
Yeah, sure. The people know me. It's fine. No, I'm the game director on Dead by Daylight. Right now, I spend a lot of my time trying to help the team make good decisions about the future of this project. Help the community stay, informed about what we're trying to do here. And yeah, I'm really just enjoying myself. I'm having too much of a good time.
I'm happy to hear that. I'm always happy when you're happy. You know that. So tell me, for those people watching who don't know what Dead by Daylight is, can you give me like the short rundown? What kind of game this is and when it got launched and so on?
So we launched actually almost a year from now today. It was E3 last year. And it is an asymmetrical multiplayer game where one crazed killer is trying to hunt down and sacrifice 4 survivors who are trying to escape this nightmarish world that keeps being recreated over and over again. This is a procedurally generated nightmare where players hunt down other players.
That's so cool. And I remember when we initially talked about this game project, right? Because Starbreeze are the publisher for this game. What really struck me personally when I met you and your team was the dedication that you guys have? Because Behavior Interactive is a huge studio, aren't you? You're one of the biggest teams in Canada.
Well, it's one of the rare studios also that is based here. It was actually formed in Quebec City almost 25 years ago, and now we have a splinter group or a business unit that's slightly different called Behavior Digital, which is dedicated to creating our own IPs and making games that we want to play and making them our way. I mean, obviously, the place here is full of passionate people. As a general rule, I think the industry of video games is a place where you rarely end up unless you're a fan anyway.
Yeah.
And the studio has now become a place where we can take charge. We at Behavior as a global place, we've been making games for other people for a lot, many years. Like I said, almost 25 now.
Yeah.
And
we were so happy to be able to work with you guys on Dead by Daylight, and I think we just got to see some footage of your most recently announced content feature. Can you tell me a bit about that? The latest killer?
Yes. So that was a big thing for us. We're so excited. I think it is the creepiest thing we've done so far, so I'm kind of happy with that. The new chapter called The Spark of Madness, which is coming out tomorrow, but we started teasing people a little bit, showing a few things. Right now, there's a preview that's happening on Twitch. A bunch of streamers have got advanced copies of it so that they can actually play it and show people and start learning how this will affect the metagame.
Yeah.
But so the chapter contains a new killer, obviously, the Doctor, who's all about creating mental anguish and making people weaker and torturing and experimenting. The new survivor is called Fong Min. She's a Chinese esports athlete, and she is probably she's one of the most loner characters that we've created. She's in it to win, and she's by far the most competitive, personality-wise, of the survivors that we've made. And the new map, which is also a huge deal for us. So the maps, as usual, for the chapters are free for everyone because we don't want to enter the community.
Good.
And the new map, for the very first time, is a fully interior map that is still using our procedural system. So it's all like corridors and rooms that will be forever changing. It's very confusing. It's a good place to get lost and then murdered. It's called the Larry's Memorial Institute.
I love it. That definitely sounds like a proper horror game. So tell me, like you were saying, Dead by Daylight was released last summer. To a great reception, really, and especially because the game is such a unique game in the sense that it's an asymmetrical multiplayer horror game where the killer plays in first person and the survivors play in third person. During this year, the past almost 12 months. Working on the post-launch content, how has that been with the community? Because I know how it is, right? It's not always easy. There's ups, there's downs. How has that been for you guys?
Well, pretty much the same. I mean, as a rule, we have had a very exciting, positive response from the community, and even the more tense moments, even when people are upset, even when there are bugs or issues that we have that we're trying to fix that are not fixed yet. Anytime we've made a decision that we then changed because people didn't like it, these moments, we have to remember that the intensity of the response is only driven by passion. People only scream at us because they care in the end. It's a game that they've learned to love and care about, and when there's something in it that's unhappy or that doesn't meet their expectations, they get very vocal and they get very passionate.
Yeah. Can you tell me about I know
it can be tough because sometimes we care as much. It's our baby. We want it to be perfect and we want everybody to love it. But it makes us go back to the drawing board and try something else and push a little harder.
So I know last we spoke, we talked a bit about the challenges you guys face having such a special kind of multiplayer game. How is the network stuff going? What kind of challenges is the team facing when it comes to that?
Yeah, so you know, we didn't really know what we were getting into at the beginning. Obviously, we made some decisions at the beginning of the project that we have to live with now, but most of them work well. In the last few months, we've been able to improve our networking and matchmaking quite a lot. There's still a long ways to go, we know that. But already today, when people are trying to play, getting into games is much easier and it's much smoother. There's always going to be a balance between who you're matched with. So, you know, it's either you're going to be in a game and the different skill levels are going to be a little mismatched, or you're not going to get into a game quickly because we need to find the exact match for you. So there's sort of a balance to find in there. There are also obviously a few network issues, but that's sort of easier to fix in a sense because it's code that you need to clean up and work at.
And I think what's important as well is that when we last spoke, we talked about you guys having a community manager, voicing the concerns of the community, and you know the importance of having transparency with a game like this that is continuously developed post-launched. And from what I understood as well, you guys recently put out a big patch, right? How did that turn out?
That turned out very, very well. It was a long time coming, and we were chasing one specific freeze that we really hated, and we're still struggling. I mean, we fixed most of the versions of that freeze, but we've still seen traces of it here and there. But it's a very, very low repro rate at this point. But the patch was delayed for about 3 weeks for that. And we still believe it was the right thing to do because when it came out, it was mostly just a huge release for everybody and many improvements to the game, a lot of bug fixes, and a few new mechanics that we thought would make the game better for people. And I'm talking here about the Bloodlust, which is a generic improvement in the way killers can fare in chases against survivors. And we've seen a lot of passion on both sides of this. Some people hate it, some people love it, but it changed a little bit the way the game is played. There was an article lately that I talked into it about the new chapter, and I was saying how every time we make a new killer, every time we make a new chapter, we try to break the game. That was misquoted and put everywhere, obviously out of context, but really what we're trying to do is shape the meta game, force people to reevaluate their old strategies and find new ways to play the game, find new ways to be successful.
Precisely, yeah.
And we did that, I think, very well. The new the Doctor is a completely different way of playing the game, and the interior map is going to change everything too.
Dead by Daylight, obviously for Starbreeze Studios, it being the first published game that we made together with you as a publisher, holds a special place in our hearts. But what people don't maybe realize watching this stream is that it's currently only available on PC and Steam, right? But it's in development and it's going to come to both Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Isn't that right?
That is absolutely right. In June, it's actually happening right now.
Yeah, so next month?
Yeah, we're wrapping up the last few details. We're making sure that it's neatly packaged and ready to go. But yeah, people on PS4 and Xbox One will be able to start joining the Dead by Daylight craze.
That's amazing. And what are the plans beyond that, beyond June, beyond being available on these 3 platforms? What are the plans for Dead by Daylight going forward?
Well, you talked a little bit about our community manager earlier. She's a big part of setting up our priorities because we want to make sure that what we're doing right now is mostly driven by what our players want. So the big thing for us is stability, making sure that the game is smoother, that you get into games easier, essentially creating a better experience overall. And then obviously we want to bring in new content. So we're going to have new killers, new survivors, and new maps coming, of course. We have so many other stories to tell. We're not done with that. The other stuff that we're working on right now also is creating strict and official rules for tournaments. There were a few very successful tournaments in the past in every place in the world, pretty much. And we want to be able to have people play against each other on a global scale. And for that, we need to establish what are the official rules of a Dead by Daylight tournament. So that's something that we're working on right now, and we want to push forward really quickly. Hopefully, it's going to come in with some of our pleasant one-year anniversary celebrations.
Mathieu, that sounds absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for joining us for this call. I know you've been sick this week, so I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
It's okay. That's some tea helping me right now, but
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, say hi to the team from us at Starbreeze Studios. Thank you again, everyone. That was Mathieu Cotte from Cotte from Behavior. And up next, we are going to talk about another internal Starbreeze project. I am, of course, talking about Crossfire Co-Op, spearheaded by Andreas Hell, together with Saul Gascon. And we actually have an interview that I did together with these two fine gentlemen. Check it out. Andreas, Saul, nice to see you both. We're going to talk about Crossfire. Andreas, you're the producer on the game, and Saul, you're the executive producer. Saul, can you explain to me, what is Crossfire?
Crossfire is a multiplayer online first-person shooter that is developed by Smilegate, a South Korean developer. It has 650 million registered users and a peak of 8 million concurrent ones. It's the most played FPS in the market and the second top-grossing multiplayer game.
Wow, those numbers are unbelievable.
Yeah, so it's obviously a huge game, right? That has a very strong community behind it, as well as a very strong developer who keeps pushing out content and updates for it. In a similar fashion of how we managed to keep Payday 2 alive, but with a more focus on player versus player.
Tell us a little bit about Smilegate.
Smilegate are the developer behind Crossfire. They're based in South Korea, and based on the immense success of their IP, we are expanding with them right now, preparing a co-op experience based on their universe.
We entered a partnership with Smilegate to create an all-new Crossfire game. It's also a great opportunity for us to bridge a gap between the Eastern and the Western market, and also a fantastic opportunity for us to create a new co-op game from the makers of Payday 2, but in the Crossfire universe.
Andreas, can you tell me about Crossfire Co-op? What kind of game is it? What are we trying to achieve here?
We want to create the ultimate fantasy of playing as a mercenary with your friends. We also want to take the co-op gameplay to the next level. Payday 2 is a great game to play with your friends, and we want to leverage on that base and expand upon that.
So it sounds like we're building on the success that Starbreeze has had with Payday. Can you explain a bit more about that? We
learned a lot from the development of Payday 2, and that's why we're also having Payday 2 developers currently working in on the Crossfire game. We found our style, and we want to continue on that path and make sure that we develop the best possible game within that genre together with Smilegate.
Saul, can you tell me, how is this game different from the original Crossfire?
So our Crossfire, we are basing it in the same universe, so players will be able to choose between Global Risk or Blacklist. These are two factions that are confronted. The big difference here is that we are a co-op-based game, so you will have to, together with your friends, engage into battles and fight for the objectives that are set up for you and your team. You will choose between a range of mercenaries. Each one has a unique class. That means different skills, different years, different vehicles. And the whole idea is that you are creating your private military company, and through contracts, basically, you can expand your own battle capabilities.
That sounds really interesting. Andreas, can you tell me more about this?
The overall theme is going to be focused on warfare, but with an overkill touch. So we've taken inspiration from a lot of classic action Hollywood movies. So it's going to be energetic, fast-paced. You're using your weapons and vehicles to plan and prepare for missions, all together with your friends. So it's still about being very tactical, but with an over-the-top touch.
Guys, this sounds like a great game.
We're super excited to work together with Smilegate and expand the Crossfire universe and create another co-op FPS.
Yeah, we're looking forward to talk more about the game in the future.
Thank you so much for talking to us a bit about Crossfire Co-op.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. right, that was a bit about Crossfire, and let me just say on behalf of the rest of the Starbreeze and Overkill crew, it's an absolute privilege to be able to work on such great IPs such as Crossfire and The Walking Dead. Working with partners like Skybound and Smilegate, yeah, what more can you ask for? Up next is a break, and we'll be back soon for more video games and more cool stuff.
Resources. Should we engage on our final backup plan? This astronaut is the only chance humanity has left for survival. Are you aware this is a do or die mission? Once we launch, there's no turning back. We have no choice. All mankind depends on it. Deliver us the moon. Deliver us. Please. Deliver us. Please. Deliver us. The moon.
welcome back. I hope you did what you needed to do during the break, because now we're back in action. So sit down, relax, and enjoy what's coming up next. We are going to talk about Deliver Us the Moon. But before that, let me just tell you a bit about Starbreeze Publishing ambitions. So Starbreeze is a publisher because we're usually just a game developer, right? And we're trying our best at that too. But because we did so well with Payday 2 and with the subsequent DLC strategy of that, we managed to get ourselves in a situation where we were able to support other independent game developers. Not only the big guys, but also the smaller guys. And for the smaller developers out there, we have something we call the Indie Labs. So the Indie Labs is the Starbreeze indie label, basically. And for any smaller developer out there, if you have a project that you're eager to find a good publisher for, yeah, we can ask these guys what they think of us. So with me here in the studio, we have Keoken Interactive. Welcome.
Pleasure to be here, man.
We have Jordy.
What's up?
Welcome. We have Koen.
Hi.
Hi, guys. So Jordy, tell me a bit about yourself.
Well, I am the head business developer for Keoken Interactive, and I'm in charge of getting us to basically sit here with you today here.
Cool.
We're happy to be here. I can assure you that.
Awesome. And how about you, Koen?
Yeah, I'm the CEO. I started the company, and I kind of do everything and nothing at the same time.
Cool.
Yeah.
And should I be ignoring the beautiful outfits you have, or do you want to tell me about them?
You should be admiring
Admire outfits. I can't ignore it, obviously, right?
Well, what I love about it is actually you have one as well.
I do.
Yeah. Well, these outfits, we had a Kickstarter. I don't know if people know. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but they were actually a reward in our Kickstarter, and we wanted something that kind of broke the fourth wall in our game.
Yeah.
So we thought we need like a spacesuit.
Yeah.
And then we shopped around and we found this farmer in the south of the Netherlands who we've ordered so many suits from him. I think he actually asked us, like, what kind of operation are you running? No, these are just farmer suits.
Or some kind of club,
put a patch on, you got a spacesuit. Yeah.
Especially with the whole Kickstarter rewards, there were a lot. They were like, is this an army of what?
Yeah, he thought, this is a seriously industrial farm you got going there, man.
It's beautiful. So, guys, tell me a bit about Keoken Interactive. Tell me about your studio.
Well, yeah, Keoken Interactive, I started it around 3 years ago, and the name is actually funny. It's my nickname when I was doing esports myself back in the day. In a game actually looking like Payday, it's kind of like the Counter-Strike period. So it was Soldier of Fortune 2.
Yeah, I remember the first game. I love that one.
Yeah, it was amazing. And yeah, I wanted to be the #1 in like these clan-based ladders at the time. So. And 4 years later, it happened. So I thought, like, if I would make a game company later on, it might, bring me luck a second time.
All right, cool.
So, Ken, if I can add, it's a wonderful place to work. I want my boss to hear this. I really enjoy it. I'm glad you brought me back. It's just been a wonderful ride, and I think that seeing it grow now, it's just been really amazing in the game, taking the shape it's taken. Yeah. It's just amazing.
Where's the studio based out of?
The studio is based in like nearby Amsterdam, near the airport. Started off as like small, like actually at the real kitchen table. So together with my brother and a good friend of me, we've been going through this adventure, and now it's like it rose from 5 people to 10, and now we're almost 20. So
I remember when I joined up, literally sat in a room with these guys. They showed me a picture of this game, and I just thought, like, there is some potential here. I'm in. And they were happy to have me, and that's when I think we were at, what, 5 at that point?
Yeah, kind of.
So yeah, it's getting there.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell me a bit about the game, Deliver Us the Moon.
Yeah, so
we saw the trailer just before, right, and during the break. It looks amazing.
Cool. Thank you. We're pretty proud of that trailer. Paul, Koen's brother actually made the trailer himself, and he does like big Hollywood movie trailers. So we're lucky to have that little piece of nasty. Yeah.
So it's when you start a company, I think at the beginning we went for a horror game, and we worked on it for 9 months in an engine that was just not cutting it for us, because I like these big experiences, especially because I like to play them myself.
Mm-hmm.
After we've done that 9 months later, we kind of wanted to switch engine, so we went for Unreal Engine, and I wanted to do a new project, so I told like the team actually to pitch something to me, and it was eventually my brother that had like the winning idea, and he called up like the concept Moon Man, and was a guy living on the moon, and from that point we just took that concept and worked upon it like through the years, and it like what it is now.
Yeah, it sounds great. But you guys used Kickstarter, right? And
True.
you were successful with Kickstarter.
We did. We were. We did a ton of research. I never thought I would be reading, like, I just got out of business school and I was reading like academic papers about Kickstarter and, you know, the right timing and everything. We finally, we launched it. That was, I can definitely tell you that was the most stressful experience of all of our lives.
For sure.
At first we were running it 24 hours, and Kickstarter, like the way it works is kind of like a parabola.
Yeah.
A downward one. So in that middle part, that desert of hardly any backers, it's so tough.
Yeah, I bet.
But we got really lucky. I was basically doing what, I don't know, what sleazy people do. I was spamming emails to every YouTuber or Twitcher under the moon, and we got a lucky hit, and the guy turned out to be amazing. He was the biggest YouTuber of Germany.
Yeah.
Randomly, we were not expecting that at all. We never heard of him, but we had a Twitter account that
Who
overnight.
is he? Who is
His
he?
name is Gronk.
Yeah, I can actually tell you that.
Yeah, please.
At when that happened, when he just played the game, you should know that he has around 30,000 people watching him at the time. So my phone was like moving on the table, and I was like,
fell off, right?
What is a Gronk? And I was reading it, and I was like, actually, you're reading like live streamed right now. I'm like, what? So. He even did a special stream called "Deliver Us the Money."
Yeah.
So,
oh my God!
And actually, we owe a lot to this guy.
Yeah, we owe a lot to him, and it was. He said it was something like, was it Twitter? Was before that was like 600 followers.
Yeah, we had like 200 followers. And
200.
And in like in an hour, it went up to 13,000. So he thought it was funny to just drop so many people on our account. So his community ever since and also himself have been great.
So we're currently seeing some in-game footage from the game. Can you tell us a bit about the game for those who don't know what it is?
True.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. So Deliver Us the Moon is set in a world in desperate times. You know, the resources are almost depleted, and humanity is looking for hope. And there's a secret mission launched by the WSA here.
Yeah.
Our fictitious United Nations Astronaut Association here. And we launched a lone astronaut to the moon to save humanity. And you have to explore the abandoned bases that are on the moon, find out what happened there, why everyone left, and if there's any hope for humanity.
Yeah. You kind of traverse history there, and at a time that it might actually be, in 50 years right now. So we kind of want to give players an idea what it could be if you actually run out of a lot of resources on Earth.
You might have to go to the moon.
Yeah.
It's obvious.
So at one point in time, we met, right?
We did.
Yeah. And what happened then? Because you guys obviously had a successful Kickstarter, and that's impressive because that's not the easiest feat to achieve.
Yeah, sure.
Right? But you were looking for more. And what happened?
Maybe that's the beginning. When we hit the Kickstarter, I was already looking like, okay, so how is this game shaping up? So the Kickstarter immediately allowed us to travel and to show this game around the world. And I remember you and me being invited to E3.
Microsoft actually reached out to us and said, you guys the game looks amazing. We really would like to have you at the Microsoft conference. And we thought, like, you know, we're small potatoes. Whoa, we could actually be in the big screen there. So we went, and it was a hugely awesome occasion, and it was amazing to see our game blasted over there. Kind of a similar feeling to right now looking at it out here in the background. And after that, one of the guys from Microsoft said, you got to meet this dude, Almir. He's a good guy. And I said, oh, really? So I reported back to Kuhn. I said, hey, Kuhn, I just had a great meeting with Microsoft. Things were great with them. They said that there's a really good publisher, Starbreeze. I actually hadn't even heard of you guys, if I'm honest. And he said, you got to talk to them. And Kuhn just said, you go now. You find him now. And I was like, now? And he's like, you go. So I actually felt a lot of pressure. And I remember I walked up to you.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was pretty much love at first sight. You can admit it.
Yeah, I can.
Back then, you had like a more aggressively manly beard.
It's true.
You
did, yeah.
I had to cut it short. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember I walked up and I said something like, hey, man, I hear you're the guy who's going to play our game. I published it. And you were like, who the hell is this guy? I heard you want to talk to me. I was like, yeah, you want to check out the game? And you were like, let's check it out right now. Yeah. And I remember going, all right, let's do this.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
One thing led to another, and here we are.
That's it.
Beautiful
the romance
story.
continues.
It does, yeah. Cool. So, I mean, looking at the trailer, right? It's very atmospheric. Tell us about the vision for the game.
Yeah, so Paul and me are extremely hyped up by space itself. And of course, we love movies like 2001, Interstellar, Gravity. And somehow I just, because kind of Unreal enables us to make beautiful games, I wanted to like feel, or let people feel how it is to be an astronaut, or at least kind of feel the sensation of it. So actually we took it from there, and slowly we started to understand that you also have to implement cool gameplay stuff. So you grab like all these specialties around you, and suddenly it evolves to, I think it's more like a lunar adventure experience, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And but I'm thinking, you know, with a sci-fi game, making sci-fi games is hard, right?
Yeah.
Because they have to like stay true to the sci-fi kinda, and not become quirky or weird.
Sure.
So how much research are you guys doing to get that authentic feel that you're after?
We do quite a bit. You know, our story guy does a lot of research. So, you know, and because the game is set in the future, I want to let you know that, you know, some of this stuff doesn't exist, but it's being thought about. You know, we are still a video game, but
I would say that most of the things in the game, for example, the places you're going to visit are actual, like, inspired by real moon places, like spots on the moon. Or, for example, there's called in the game, it's an MPT system. It's a microwave transmitting system, actually being researched by the Japanese right now to transmit energy to like without cables and anything. So it's sometimes we can like stick to real tech, and sometimes we have to just inspire or get inspired, because we also need to make a fun game.
Yeah, if it sacrifices fun, we're not sure we're willing to do it.
Yeah,
but we also want to be. We consider it a hard sci-fi game, so we're actively investigating. Like you said, the maps, even their demo that we recently did at PAX East. That crater is an actual crater on the moon, the Reinhardt crater.
Yeah,
yeah.
How was the reception at PAX East when you guys showed the game there in Boston?
Actually, it was amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
For us to see a line of people for our game, that was that's a special thing.
What also I'm fascinated by how many people, how many differences there are in people. Like it ranges from like 10 to maybe 80 years old.
Yeah, man, woman, 80-year-old, 5-year-old.
I remember being there and seeing so many different kinds of people. You know, playing your game and trying it out. What were their sentiments? What did they think?
I think most of them are kind of, sometimes I always think that when they done like the demo, they kind of stand up like as if they were in a trance or something.
Yeah, a little bit, right? Like they were kind of like, whoa, okay, I'm back.
I'm back
what kind of game are you guys making?
Which is exactly what
I want to take you to space. So,
so you know, you touched on it briefly before, but with Starbreeze now on board, how has the scope of the game changed, right? Because obviously you had one idea, one ambition when you guys set out getting that successful Kickstarter, but then we met and you know, and the cool thing about that, I think, you know, talking about, you know, our personal meeting is that it doesn't have to be hard to find a good publisher, right?
Oh, man.
And for us as a publisher, it doesn't have to be hard to find a good developer to work with. So tell us, how has the scope changed based on all that?
Yeah, well,
huge.
Mostly, when you really are setting your goals like this, and actually, for me, it was very clear that I needed partners to just help me, and mostly on the part that, of course, with like a bigger budget, you can like raise up the scope a little bit. Like you can work and actually put more assets and more detail into the game. But also in terms of like knowledge and experience, it's super important. We have never released a game, so I like to have people like watching over my shoulder and tell me if I'm doing right or wrong.
Yeah. And in what way have you, are you like on a day-to-day basis experiencing working with Starbreeze?
Oh man, I think I can take this.
Sure.
You know, for us, we were talking to a number of people about possibly publishing us, and one of the biggest reasons we went with you guys is because the cultural fit is incredible. I mean, you know, actually, we were talking to Bo outside. What did he call it? Disciplined fun. Yeah,
true.
I think that's the model. That's a good quote from him for Starbreeze. And I think we follow that as well. We like to joke around a little bit, but we always like to make sure we get everything done. Yeah. Even me. I know it's amazing to hear, but
even you,
even me, we make sure to get everything done properly. And with Starbreeze, you know, we just feel more confident. You know, if we have questions about something, well, what do you think? You know, feedback. The feedback's been incredible, and it's kind of like what we talk about in the office a lot is that partnering with you guys has actually made us a more professional studio.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you guys being, 10, 20 people and now 20, right? But being 5 from the start and, you know, starting out of the kitchen, like you were saying, I think for a lot of smaller developers, and I think people easily forget that, you know, Overkill, where I originally were from, we were also a small independent developer originally, right? I think a lot of independent devs out there are afraid to talk with publisher and are afraid that they somehow will change the scope, but in a negative sense, right? That the publisher will take over the idea. What's your experience with that from having worked with us now?
To be honest, I feel completely free. I somehow...
It's better than before.
We are actually in charge of everything still. Yeah. So in the creative process, we can choose whatever we want, even if there's maybe a direction we are not fully agreeing on. It actually doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes we, I don't know, sometimes we take the advice because we're like inexperienced, but sometimes, yeah, we can just go. I don't feel any pressure at all to actually change anything.
I think the pressure is healthy, but it just feels like we've been enabled to make a game that we've always dreamed of. You know, not a lot of people know how hard it is to make a game, and to see the game shaping up the way it is, it really is an amazing feeling. And I think Starbreeze plays a huge role in that as well. Huge.
It kind of feels like sometimes you're, you get touched or pushed in the right direction a little bit, and that's all we need.
And I think for people who are maybe wanting to approach you guys or any publisher, don't be afraid. There's a great quote by Wayne Gretzky, actually. And as Sweden is a hockey country that just lost to the U.S., I want to point that out. They really hate that here.
You shouldn't have brought that up, but go ahead.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah, word.
It's true.
Thank you so much for sharing your vision and talking to us about Deliver Us the Moon. Any final words? Like, if I'm interested in the game, I'm watching the stream, this is the first time I hear about it, what can I do as a gamer?
Well, we have, because we have grown, we have a lovely community manager, Charlene. She's always
eager to answer everyone's questions.
On Twitter, on Twitch herself. We stream ourselves weekly.
We stream Wednesdays and Thursdays, usually.
DeliverUsTheMoon.com will actually lead you to all these places. Yeah, just talk to us.
And also, I want to also address that people who backed us on Kickstarter, thank you so much. You're the reason we got to go to E3 and the reason we got to meet this fine gentleman over here,
it's very
Mr. Almeida. Yeah.
Thank you, Kickstarter, for introducing me to these fine gentlemen, and for being great people, right? Because we really appreciate working with you guys. Thank you so much, and really excited to learning more about the game.
Thank you.
So next up, we have we're gonna continue on the indie label stuff. We're gonna talk about another game called. Hold on, Antisphere, and we've got a beautiful trailer about the game, and we're gonna talk more when we've shown it. All right, welcome back. So what you just saw was Antisphere. It's made by Soap Interactive, another indie label title that we are publishing today. So we're pushing right now on Steam the pre-order button. So if you're interested in this game, definitely check it out. The pre-order is going live right now. You're gonna be able to get the game for roughly $10. It's a really cool twin-stick shooter, multiplayer game where you basically fight it out with your friends. Definitely try to check it out if you can. And in order to entice you more, if you are a Payday player, check this out. We've got some cool Payday swag, some cosmetics. If you're interested in Antisphere, we've got 2 masks that we're gonna give the Payday community for free. to celebrate us launching Antisphere on Steam. And we also have an additional 6 masks that you can get if you purchase Antisphere on Steam. So these masks are only available if you purchase Antisphere on Steam. So definitely check that out if you're interested in a new game like this. All right, cool. Read more about the game on Steam. All the information you need to know is available there. It's coming out on July 14th. So yeah, check that out for sure. Next up, we are going to talk about one of my favorite game IPs ever. I'm of course talking about Psychonauts 2.
Hi everybody, I'm Tim Schafer, the president and CEO of Double Fine Productions. We have made a lot of games over the last 17 years, but the one we're most famous for, and the one for which people have most demanded a sequel, is definitely Psychonauts. And that's why I'm so excited that we're finally making a sequel to this great game with our backers on Fig, and also our good friends at Starbreeze. Psychonauts is an action-adventure platformer where you play as Raz, a young acrobat with psychic powers who can go into people's minds, fight their inner demons, wrestle with their nightmares, and unlock their secret dreams. Because the levels of Psychonauts are set inside the human mind, anything can happen. We can go to any world, create any character, and change the gameplay in unexpected ways. But all this craziness still has meaning, as everything you interact with gives some insight into the emotional lives of the characters in the game. In the game, you can do anything an acrobat can do. Walk on a tightrope, swing on a trapeze, but also you can use your sight powers to levitate things, set fire to things, or see remotely with your mind's eye. In the sequel, we'll be bringing back everything players loved about the first game. The creativity, the surprises, and the humor. We'll also be adding new sight powers, new abilities, new characters, new worlds, and modernized, polished gameplay. We'll be posting regular updates so you can follow along as we create this psychic odyssey through the mind of misfits, monsters, and madmen. We are really excited to be bringing Raz to a whole new audience and really looking forward to bringing you back into the world of the Psychonauts.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm gonna go take a quick break. Meanwhile, I have my colleague Bengt Lemny here, who's gonna have a great chat with none other than Mr. Spectre himself.
All right, thank you so much, Elmer. I think it's a well-deserved break. You've done a great job so far, and welcome, Mr. Spectre.
Mr. Spectre. When did I become Mr. Spectre?
Right now.
Okay.
Right here.
All right.
Of course, famed creator of franchises like Deus Ex and Thief and System Shock. But I'm going to say you were one of the creators. It's a teamwork, right?
Exactly. It's all about the team. People sometimes think I make these games all by myself, and I just put my head down on my desk and wait for blood and ideas to pour from my forehead, and it just doesn't work that way. You got to be surrounded by a great team.
Oh no! Now you sort of destroyed my whole vision of it going down. That's terrible. But I'd like to start out with the return to System Shock, because this is such a sort of fundamental game for where the industry is today. But it's been lost for the ages. And how did it come to be that you're back working at System Shock, and what attracted you to go back there?
Well, what attracted me to go back to System Shock was the richness of the world. Back in 1994, we released a game that had amazing characters. It had a really rich, deep story. It had a setting that I think and thought at the time was really compelling. A world that was believable. I mean, one of the things I love about System Shock is that it's a believable world, not just a random collection of corridors where you shoot things. So the richness of the world certainly appealed to me. And there are some unanswered questions in the fiction that I thought would be fun to come back to as well. So there was all that. And then Paul Neurath, my partner at Other Side Entertainment, who right now is working on Underworld Ascendant, a rebirth of that classic franchise, he came to me and just as a friend said, hey, you know what? I got the rights to make new System Shock games. And he was just telling me as a friend, but half jokingly I said, you know what? I should make that for you. And a couple of weeks later he called me back and said, you know, you should make that for me. And I thought about it for about 3.5 seconds and said, okay, I'm in. Let's make a new System Shock game.
Sounds great. Completely organic. But you know, you briefly touched on that. You know, you have some unanswered questions. What's the vision for this game? What's the premise? What are those unanswered questions?
Well, I'm not going to tell you everything. It's we're still in concept phase, and it's a little early. But what I can tell you is, from a fiction standpoint, Showdown, the malevolent, super intelligent AI, is coming back. We have to know what happened to her. That's one of the big reasons to make a new System Shock game. What's Showdown up to? Some of the characters who survived, there were 5 characters who survived the first and second System Shock games, and anybody who's watching this, try and see if you can figure out who those 5 characters are. So we'll do some exploring about what happened to them. Citadel Station, the setting for the first game, seemed to have been destroyed at the end of the first game, but maybe not so much. Citadel will be coming back. So from a fiction standpoint, I think existing fans of the game, and there are still plenty, which freaks me out. I mean, after 23 years, the idea that people still care is pretty amazing, and another reason to come back to the game. I think it'll be fun for those players to see what happened to those old characters and Citadel Station and Showdown. But for new players, people who've never even heard of System Shock, I think it'll just be a great story. So fiction, we got that covered. From a gameplay standpoint, I think there's a lot to do too. System Shock was one of the very first games that was built on top of a simulation, physics and a rule set that players could sort of interact with. It was, at the time, a very deep simulation, but now not so much. So I think we can take what we learned in the last 23 years and really take System Shock to a whole new level.
It is funny because it's like one of those games that has spawned the most spiritual successors, if you will, games that have been inspired by it in some way. And we talked about what sort of defines success in this industry, and of course, the immediate thought goes to sales, but that is also some sort of measure of success, right? How much you influence other games.
Absolutely. There are all sorts of ways to measure success. Some people measure it by sales and revenue, which is related to sales, obviously. Some people, you know, define it differently. One of the measures of success that I find most appealing is influence. I mean, you know, okay, maybe it's, I'm an egomaniac, I don't know. But I just really enjoy the idea that that I've had the privilege of working with teams in the creation of games that have kind of stood the test of time, and that other developers look at and say, hey, you know, I should do something more like that. And so clearly over the years, we've seen plenty of games, you know, BioShock, if you ask Ken Levine, he'll tell you that System Shock was an inspiration to him when he actually was the lead on System Shock 2, and certainly, you know, BioShock shows some resemblance to the original System Shock games. Prey just came out. You can certainly see the influence there. I think those guys would admit it if you ask them. So there have been plenty of games influenced by System Shock. The interesting thing is, a lot of people ask me, so do you take ideas from those games that influenced that were influenced by System Shock? So. Well, here you go. Okay, so the answer may be strange, but it's not really. I mean, my team and I, we've all played many, if not all, of the games that showed the System Shock influence. But for me, when I look at something, another game, I usually say, hey, they did this thing. Let's make sure we don't do that. You know, they already did it, so let's try something different. Let's do something no one's ever seen before.
So that's what we can expect from System Shock 3 then, something you've never seen before.
Well, without going into detail, there's at least one thing that is pretty crazy, pretty insane. I have no idea if it's going to work, but no one's ever seen or done it before, I'll say that.
All right, so obviously at this stage in development, normally you wouldn't be talking to me. Normally there would be like a lot of people telling you not to say anything about the game at all. But what does it offer you to sort of get out there with the game early and start sort of communicating with fans and letting people know that this is what you're thinking about? You're trying to come up with System Shock 3.
Well, as a gamer myself, you know, and before I became a developer, for sure, but even as a developer, I want to go behind the scenes. I want to know what's going on. And so the opportunity to talk to fans directly, which used to be very hard. I mean, when I started, you know, it was not easy to reach your fans. And there were lots of barriers, you know, usually publishers, but we won't talk about that. But now there are very few barriers. So you can go right to your fans, right to players, and engage with them early, which is really exciting. You can find out what they like, what they don't like, what they think, what they feel, you know, what they want to see in the game. And you can respond directly to that sort of input, which is awesome.
Sure is. But what does that leave you sort of in? Because this is also the sort of game where you don't want to talk about everything, and maybe you don't want it to be sort of the direction of it to be steered by committee or by a bunch of people or like the majority will, because it sort of needs to be as well sort of a singular vision as well.
Oh, for sure. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a believer in design by committee. I'm a big believer in collaboration with my team because they're going to come up with great ideas, usually better than mine. But it's definitely not designed by committee, and you can't really have fans design the game, but you can get input from them about what you're thinking. It's still, you're right, there has to be a singular vision. I don't want to get too geeky here as a developer, but my role, as I see it, is to design the creative box, you know? And that's the sort of creative world in which the game lives. And the team fills it in, okay? But you can fill it in and take ideas from the outside. You can take ideas. I'll tell you, I'll give you a perfect example. I've got my box. I kind of know what the game is going to be at the high level. But I had a meeting with the guys at Starbreeze this week, and we were just brainstorming about a bunch of stuff. I got 8 pages of notes. 8 pages. That's really going to influence the game. It's not that I'm compromising my vision or my team's vision, but you can get great input from the folks at Starbreeze and from gamers as well.
But some of those ideas maybe didn't make it onto those 8 pages then.
No, every idea I got from Starbreeze is in the game now. No, you don't take everything, of course.
Of course not. So in terms of the team you're building, what can you tell us of that? Sort of where are you at in development?
We're still pretty early. We're in the concept phase. We're pretty far into concepting, actually. You know, that's where you decide what game you dream of making. It's really a dream vision. And I've been working with my tech director, Jason Hughes, my art director, Arturo Palacio, and my lead designer, Chips Brogna, to create that wonderful, ideal vision. Pretty soon we'll be transitioning into pre-production, and that's where reality smacks you in the face, and you figure out what game you can really make. But you know, there are some key elements that are just core to the experience that you just can't compromise, and so you prioritize those early in pre-production. You know, you take your biggest risks, you prototype like hell, and at the end of pre-production, you know how you're going to build the game, and then comes the grind of production, where all the assets get generated, where all the levels get built, where all the story elements get incorporated, and then finally the game ships. And if you're lucky, it's still the game that you imagined. I mean, when I start thinking about a game, I really do this. It's just sad. I sit back and I close my eyes and I imagine the game that's going to come out in 2 or 3 or however many years. And it always ends up completely different. but in the best cases, every detail can change, but it's still the game you envisioned when you started. That's the magic of it. Teams make games better, details change. But if you've got a strong vision at the start, that carries through. You open your eyes, and there it is, the thing you dreamed of. It's a magical thing when that happens.
All right. And so far, we can only dream of that, because today we're not showing you any footage or anything of System Shock 3. We're not there quite yet. So, but time has come to invite a couple of other veterans in on talk here, and we're going to have a panel debate called Veterans of the Industry. And
Debate?
Debate, great.
Let's do it. Well, wait, you're stronger than I am. You're going to take me. I don't want to do that.
Welcome, Bo Andersson of Starbreeze Studios.
Thank you.
And I think via link we'll also have Tim Schafer coming into the chat. But I thought we'd start out talking here because we need to go back to the very beginnings. I think we owe it to everyone looking at this stream to sort of take it back a notch. We're talking about games coming out in years, but let's talk about the first game you guys made and sort of how's that influenced you and is there anything you carry with you? And I'd like to throw the question to Boo first here.
All right. Well, first game, that's so long ago, you know, it's 17 years ago.
Yeah, we're old guys now.
Yeah, no, that was a long time ago, but I still remember it like yesterday because I pretty much crunch every day, so I kind of recognize that feeling. The first game I did was called Ballistics. It was a racing game, sci-fi racing game, because, you know, why not? And we picked one feature that we wanted to push, like one single feature in that game, and it was infinite speed. And infinite speed on like one of the first graphics cards, which was 3DFX Voodoo, right?
Nice.
Yeah. So infinite speeds, throwing a lot of 3D polygons around, making the FPS a challenge. And I learned from that you know, it's the last 10% of every production that is 90% of the effort, because you can have all these great visions, like you said, right? And in the end, you got to bite down and fight for those 10% to make it whole. So yeah, that's good learning.
That is very nice to hear. What was your first game and what did you learn?
My first game, well, it depends on how you define first. I spent 6-7 years in tabletop gaming. And the first game I worked on there was called Toon, the cartoon role-playing game. So I was well prepared to do a Mickey Mouse game many years later at Disney. And from that, I learned the power of collaborative storytelling or shared authorship or whatever, you know, pretentious name you want to call it. But it's, you know, games can be about players telling stories together. And that's a really powerful thing. I've tried to bring that to every game I've worked on since. In the world of electronic games, though, I worked on 2 games at the same time. And boy, did I get an education. Holy cow. I worked on Ultima 6 with Richard Garriott, and I worked on Space Rogue with Paul Neurath, my current partner. We're back together again. We're putting the band back together. What I learned from both of those was the power of letting players solve game problems the way they want. You know, most games, they lock you on a track, and every player has the same experience. And that's great. I mean, you can make a great game, and trust me, I love games like that. But the games that I make, they're a little different in that players get to solve problems the way they want. You know, make a plan, execute the plan, surprise me. I love it when players surprise me. And I got that right from Richard and Paul, who were pioneers of that sort of game.
Right, we're going to throw it over to San Francisco and Tim Schafer coming to us from Double Fine Productions. Tim, what was your first game? Of course, Tim Schafer of Grim Fandango fame and Secret Monkey Island and everything LucasArts, and more recently Psychonauts, Broken Age. What was your first game, and is there anything that you learned from that you're taking with you?
Yeah, first, hi everybody. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you fine.
Oh, great. Awesome. Hi, Warren. Hey, Bo. Hey, everybody.
Hey. Hey there, Tim.
My first game that I ever worked on was this Ron Gilbert's Secret of Monkey Island, right when I started at LucasArts. And what I learned from that experience was, I mean, I was really young, and I learned how sometimes your craziest ideas are your best ideas, but you tend to censor them because they seem too weird. And one of the first things I was writing there was this joke about a 3-headed monkey, and I thought, okay, that's stupid. No one's gonna believe that there's a 3-headed monkey. It's like, look behind you, there's a 3-headed monkey. I'll type it in, you know, temporarily, and then Ron will take it out. And then Ron came up and read it and was like, that's great, that's staying in. I was like, what, are you crazy? That's, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna have Steve Purcell draw a 3-headed monkey. It's gonna be awesome. And I thought it seemed kind of scary at first to let this kind of stupid sounding idea go into the game. But then once it got in, I was like, I can't believe I ever thought about cutting that out. And that's what happens a lot when you're brainstorming. I mean, some dumb ideas are dumb ideas, but a lot of your kind of crazy sounding ideas, if you just work on them a little bit, turn out to be your best ones. And I think sometimes your own worst critic and censor is in your own mind and stops those ideas before they ever see the light of day. So just learning to kind of like let those ideas run a little bit and see which one of them actually work out. I think is what I learned from my first game.
All right. That sounds like a good lesson for anything you're doing in life, not censor yourself. I thought we'd talk a little bit about sequels, because when I think of your careers, the three of you, I don't really think of sequels first and foremost. You've all dabbled in sequels, but it's not really what you're sort of known for. But right now, there are sequels in the air here. There's sequels everywhere. We're not talking about the sequel to Payday 2 yet, but of course it's being thought about. So I thought I'd throw it to you first, Bo. What is the appeal of a sequel? Why have you stayed away from it a lot? And how do you sort of approach a sequel, if you will?
I think you don't just jump into a sequel. You have to let the game mature with the audience, and you gotta stay away from it a while, come back, play yourself. And you got to find that essence again of the game you made. But once you do, and you find it again after a few years, if it's appealing, then you know you really should make that sequel or sequel to sequel to sequel, right? And for me, it's you know, if we talk about Payday, right? It's like a boyhood dream, like cops and robbers and all that stuff. And I lived that with Payday 1, I lived that with Payday 2. And to get inspired and really kill it with Payday 3, you know, you gotta take a breather. But coming back and getting into it again, it's just like so inspiring, and you know you can perfect it, right? And this time you have more people, better quality, more know-how in your team, better technology, everything, right? So for me, it's super exciting to do. But of course, we're not talking about Payday 3, right?
Well, you're the boss, so I'm not gonna interrupt you or anything. Warren, of course, in your case, it's a much longer journey than between Payday 2 and Payday 3. You really had time to think about what this sequel would be, and
well, I've worked on plenty of sequels. I can't deny it. I mean, I've worked on Ultima 6, Ultima 7, Ultima Underworld, Ultima Underworld 2, Deus Ex Invisible War, Epic Mickey, The Power 2. I've done a few sequels in my time. First of all, I even plan for sequels. It's really sad. No, when I first start thinking about a game, you know, in addition to putting my forehead on the table and bleeding until I come up with all the ideas, yeah, forget I said that. Anyway, I also try to plan out 3 games. Not because I ever expect to make those 3 games. In fact, I've never made those 3 games. But just to know I've got a world rich enough to support that. And with System Shock, we clearly have a world that's rich enough and detailed enough and well enough thought out that there are plenty of stories to tell, you know. And sometimes it's just kind of nice not to have to create an entire universe from scratch. There's something kind of appealing about it. There's some rules of the road you can follow. But Bo's right. I mean, you have to find the essence of it and then try and do it even better based on what you learned making the first one. The first time around, you're just kind of making it up as you go and hoping for the best. The second time around, you've got some data. You know what works and what doesn't, so you can do an even better job. So there are real advantages to making a sequel. But here's the one thing I will say. I've got a rule that all of my teams know. It doesn't matter if you're making the first game in a series, you're doing a sequel, you're doing a licensed game. There's got to be one thing in the game that no one in the world has ever seen or done before. One thing, you know. We're still a young enough medium, I guess, that we haven't answered all the questions about what we can do and what we can be and all that. So every game, if you're a developer out there listening, come on, work with me here. I don't care if you're making a My Little Pony game. Come up with one thing no one's ever done before. And you can do that in the context of a sequel. We're doing it.
You're making a sequel to My Little Pony, Warren?
Yes, all the bronies
what an
out there.
amazing announcement.
I've got to please all the bronies. My secret is out. Thanks a lot, Tim. Thanks a lot.
I'm getting in on that too, for sure.
Starbreeze is going to publish it, right?
Sounds like everybody's dream. But Tim, for you, it's been a little bit different with sequels. You've been sort of prevented from making some sequels, but here we are finally, Psychonauts 2. It's been a while. What's your relationship to sequels, if you will?
I mean, I've always had ideas for sequels, but often have this other urge to do the complete opposite of whatever my last game was. And we've done that for many years, but I always have this nagging feeling of like, we never answered these questions. Because, like Warren was saying, when you make a game, you're making a world, you're making this really, you put a lot of effort into making a real world that feels real, and you treat it like it's a real place that you go to. So, and it was, in the case of Psychonauts, we put these hooks in for a bigger story that I was wanting to tell. And the idea of going back and actually telling that story is really great and exciting. And when it comes to doing a sequel, the challenging thing in some part is thinking about what players really want and need, because part of them, maybe they obviously like the first game, that's why they'd want a sequel. So there's something about that game they really liked. So figuring out what it was they really liked, and then they've played a lot of games in the meantime, so what have they learned and how have they changed, and what would they demand now that they didn't demand back then? So what to improve about the old game, and then fitting both of those things into the equation it can be challenging, but I think if you really get to know your first game and get to know your players, you can figure out what was the core of what was special to them, because it might seem like some superficial thing, like a certain art style or something, but it's something deeper. Like it usually is just a deeper relationship that they had with that game. And now, like Bo was saying, you have better technology and you're smarter people, you have more experience, you can make a better game, and combining that with what was the essence of what people really liked, and then telling a whole new story is important. I think it's important to also remind yourself, put yourself in the position of someone who's never heard of your game before. Like making a sequel for someone who has no idea what Psychonauts is something that we really also want to try and keep in mind, because you have to win them. Don't just assume you've won them over already because they played the first game. We just assume they've never played any of the games, and you've got to win them over all over again. And that's the approach we're taking.
All right. We've sort of touched on this subject a little bit before, and Tim was talking about it. Fan interaction today is a little bit different than 20 years ago. How do you approach that sort of that intimacy that is there today? I mean, certainly Payday has a huge community that you're interacting with all the time. There are System Shock fans buying the game today on good old games and whatnot. And of course, with Psychonauts 2, it went on Fig to get its initial funding, and so the fans are involved with that. But how do you approach fan interaction? And I'd like to kick it to you first, Bo.
Wow, yeah, I mean, I could say I've been in the spotlight of that for a while, right? It's just, for me, changing from being, a work-for-hire developer working under, like, classical DVD, CD distribution to digital, that changed everything with community interaction, right? And for me, it's been really eye-opening to see how direct players can be towards your game. And that takes a while to learn, that you shouldn't just take everything as critique or hate for your game or love of your game. You should just take it as inspiration, because if people, the community, engage enough with your product, you're relevant. And this is something that, we really didn't ever see that when you shipped a normal game on a shelf, right? It was like, yeah, you read in a newspaper that some reviewer liked it, right? And that was pretty much it. No offense, right? But now you can continuously get, notifications every second minute, like, you should do this with your game, you should do that with your game, right? And then you get inspired. Whether it's good or bad, you get inspired to work harder and push harder for your game. So I think that really made us developers and publishers now really put more effort into our games.
What do you think, Warren?
Well, when I started, we would get letters. You remember what those were, right?
Yeah.
We would get, people would write them by hand, and fans would tell us what they thought, and it was not all that different than it is today. The hate came through loud and clear, you know, and some of the love too. I mean, in fairness. And then all of a sudden we had, you know, we would get emails, and there were forums where people would talk about stuff. I mean, there was a Deus Ex community long before, you know, Reddit and Twitch and all of those outlets existed. And I read them religiously, you know. I loved hearing what people thought about the game. But nowadays, there are all sorts of ways to reach people that frankly, I don't know a whole lot about. That's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about working with Starbreeze, because these guys, they're the masters of this sort of stuff. And I'm going to learn a lot from them. I hope they're ready for it, because I'm going to be a sponge soaking up every word you guys say.
You can sit right here, Warren.
Be careful what you wish for.
What about you, Tim? You obviously have had a lot of interaction with your Kickstarters for Broken Age, and now with Psychonauts 2, it's sort of changed the entire company there. It's my impression of it, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like these guys were saying, in the old days, it would be just, we're really isolated, and we'd maybe read a magazine a few months after our game came out, and now it's like if you want feedback, there's a fire hose of feedback every day on the internet, and the most positive thing is that even after the internet, we still had, you know, we had a community, we had fans, and it was a great relationship. But once we got into crowdfunding, and once we started doing a documentary where we kind of pulled back the curtain and let people see what was going on in development, I feel like the bandwidth between us and the community and the players, just the back and forth, both directions, just got really intense, and it was. It wasn't just like us on one side of a wall making something and tossing it over the wall. It was like this real dialogue and this real. I could sense a change in the community where they felt like they were much more a part of it, and they felt like they had helped make this thing. Because I mean, when you're crowdfunding, they have helped make this thing, and some people wonder if that would change things with now you feeling like the community is your boss. But I feel like the players have always been our boss in a way. They've always been funding us. They've always been, the ultimate. Test of whether, you've succeeded or not. And so I feel like it's very natural to have that deeper relationship with them.
Yeah, I certainly enjoyed the two-player production documentary for Double Fine Adventure. It was eye-opening, I have to say, for someone who's on the outside looking in. We've sort of danced around the publisher relationship here, and of course, I'm in the company of developers and publishers, developer-publishers, in the case of Bo and Tim also, both developer and publisher. Warren on the outside here, just a developer in this case. But certainly this is something that's been sort of a watershed moment for the industry, how publishing has changed, the different avenues that are available today. So from each of your perspectives, how would you say that sort of the industry as it is today, what does it mean that publishing is so different? If we start with Bo.
I think we are changing it, right? We actively changing it. The way we're approaching other developers, because we see ourselves as developers, right, foremost, is that we just want to give them the opportunity that we've had, right, that we've made available to us. So we want to give that to Warren, because I was a little kid and played around with this last game, right, and I want him to do it again, and that's the passion, and if that passion comes from a publisher and it's real passion, then that publisher is not going to be restraining, right? It's going to be giving him everything he needs and motivate him to go in that direction, right? And I think with this kind of online distribution, we can be that more direct against each other, right? Because it's not about the retail anymore. It's not about the whatever the reviewers think, really. It's about what the community thinks, and who knows that better than the guy who created the game. So it's all about supporting him. So the publisher role is changing from being that overall owner of IP to the facilitator, to the catalyst for the developer. At least that's how I see the publisher role changing. Now, the old dragons, they might be moving that way also, but not as fast, right?
How about you, Warren?
I'm not sure there's much to add to that. I've worked on the publisher side a few times, and I think things are, I mean, certainly working with Starbreeze, it's been a much more open and fair relationship, I guess. In the bad old days, publishers really held all the cards. They had all the money. They had all the access to the audience. We didn't own the audience. The audience was owned by the publisher. They were if you made a game, you had no way to get it to players. You had to go to a software store, and as an individual, as a developer, I couldn't go to a software store and say, "Hey, you should sell my game." That doesn't work. But now we have so many more ways to reach an audience that the publishers, their sort of power, I guess, is not what it used to be. And that's all to the good. And the other thing that's really interesting to me now is I run into a lot more people on the publishing side, especially at Starbreeze, who are developers themselves or who were developers themselves. When I started, and for many years after that, it was unusual to find people on the publishing side who had actually made games. Yeah. And that made things very hard. When you have people who've never made games telling you what to do, which they often did.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty sad, and sometimes you had to push back pretty hard. And there are stories I could tell, but we're not going there right now.
Are we not? Are we not? No. Because I would love to.
No, maybe later.
All right.
But now things have changed radically, and maybe at the big publishers you still have that problem of non-gamers on the publishing side, but certainly there are many more publishers now who've come out of development, and that's a great development.
Yeah, and if I throw this to you, Tim, obviously you've been through your share of publishers as well, and you're taking your own special approach to publishing with Double Fine, but it's also been interesting to see you guys sort of regaining control of those old IPs that you sort of gave away in order to create them in the past. So certainly for you guys, it's changed a lot as well.
Yeah, the whole landscape has changed a lot. Obviously, digital distribution and crowdfunding has changed a lot. And I feel like, the old model that Warren was talking about, where it was a little more of a parent-child relationship, where they had, the difference in power and the difference in responsibility was really great. And I think, and great, not in a good way, great meaning bad, I mean, big. And so now I feel like we don't have to go for those kind of deals. We can have a relationship with a more, I would say, next generation kind of publisher like Starbreeze, where it's more of a true partnership, where they don't want to develop the game, tell us how to develop the game, and we actually have our own money invested in the game, so there's a little more responsibility. We have some skin in the game, and they are also developers. We have experience as a publisher, they have experience as a developer, so there's a lot more of a partnership of equals, where we both have a shared vision for making the best possible game, and we don't want to get in each other's way about how to make that happen. And I think that's the way publishing is going, is more savvy, more light touch, and more just facilitating and making sure the game has the greatest chance of success.
I understand. We've been talking a lot, so I'm running short on time with plenty of questions, but I would like to take it, sort of reel it in to sort of where we started. We started with that first game you worked on, and sort of what you carried with you from that. If you can imagine the last game you ever make, is there a game that you want to make before your careers end, or maybe you don't ever retire from game development?
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
And I have a caveat as well. You cannot say that it's the game you're working on currently.
No, that'd be sad, wouldn't it? Right? You can't say that.
So if you go first, Bo.
Yeah. Well, I have this little dream. I am very fortunate because I had good success with Payday, and since I've been able to start IPs that I really wanted to do, like I get to work on The Walking Dead, I get to work with Storm. Ooh, did I say that? Yes, Storm.
Still a thing?
Still a thing. Payday 3, those kind of things. And then, I bump into people like Warren, and I get to work on those kind of games, right? It's fantastic. So my last game, I actually saved it. on a shelf, and it's right there. And I secured it a year ago or so, because we acquired the license or the whole library actually from Cinemaware, which is like you go like, what is Cinemaware? It's like it's the quality developer and publisher of the Amiga times, right? And this is what I grew up on, like when I was a little.
It came from the desert.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Came from the desert, etc. But you know, Tim, you can get that one. I have that one if you want. So, no, I want to build Wings, and it's a World War I flight simulator. And I want to do it in the highest detail with the craziest VR that you can imagine.
Get me the rights back to Wings of Glory, my World War I flight sim that no one remembers, that supported every VR headset in 1994. Do it, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, you know, and you know, I got Wings. And I really look forward to that, like sitting down, you know, my colleagues who have been working with me for the last 15 years, also big fans. So when we retire a little bit, we'll sit there, we'll make Wings, we'll just feel good about it.
All right. Sounds like a promising VR game somewhere down the line.
Yeah, with a lot of force feedback.
Wings was the big competition for me, man. I made Wings Glory, and I wanted to destroy Wings, you know, make people forget it ever existed. That's amazing. You got that, man.
How about you, Warren?
Let's not describe it as the last game. Let's describe it as the dream game, okay?
All right.
I have two, and no publisher's ever been crazy enough to give me money to do either of these. Partly because my pitch starts out with, I have no idea how to do this, but I need a better pitch. But I've got one called the one block role-playing game, where it's kind of the opposite of an open world game, which is typically, you know, miles wide and an inch deep. And what I want to do is just the opposite. I want to do a game that simulates one city block, just one block, you know, with businesses, and, you know, put a hotel on it and simulate it within an inch of its life, have a bunch of people, bunch of characters there who all have their own stories, focus on non-combat AI, you know, do the one block role-playing game. I would kill to do that. And then the other one, this is, oh man, anyway, what the heck? I want to do an interactive musical comedy. I love Broadway shows and musical movies and stuff, and you know, like La La Land or something. I have ideas about how to do an interactive musical that isn't like beat matching or, you know, performance. It's something different, and, you know, using music to convey a story, and I would love to do that. So those are my two.
All right, looking forward to it. And Tim, to cap it off, what would be your dream game? Let's not call it the final game.
Well, now that Warren has stolen my My Little Pony game, I've always been fortunate enough, every time I try and think of a crazy idea that I'd like to do, I've always been able to make that game. I mean, all these games we've made are pretty crazy. So I feel like I haven't really been holding back with the crazy game ideas. We still like to do, you know, game jams and come up with experimental weird ideas. So I feel like through that process we'll probably come up with something new that's just as scary as Warren's idea. But until then, I've just always felt really fortunate that we are making everything that our inspiration leads us to.
All right. That sounds like a dream career, to be able to make anything.
Very fortunate, yes.
How about Tim ending with making a normal game? Yeah?
No,
do we really want that?
Don't do it.
No, we don't want that, do we?
Ignore him.
All right. We are wrapping up here from the panel. It's been a pleasure talking to all three of you. It's been a real honor to be drafted in to replace Almir here for a little bit. And we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more fun from Starstream. So stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Continental, Mr. Wick. Management does have a favor to ask.
Out of prison so we can get the information he has on Kento. We'll need to take extreme measures to stop the prison trucks. I engineered some, trouble, and, yeah, this isn't gonna be a quiet one, guys.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm back. We're all back. Ilya, who's been with us before. We're going to talk about the future of Payday 2. But before we talk about the future of Payday 2, we're going to talk a bit about the past of Payday 2 and Payday the Heist. With me, I have none other than Martin Van. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're one of the co-founders of Overkill Software.
Yeah.
And you're also a programmer.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
and what are you doing currently?
So currently I'm on the Walking Dead project.
Cool. Is it fun?
Oh yeah, a lot of excitement.
I bet.
And I have a nice team that I lead. So yeah.
Good stuff. And next to you we have Ilya Petrusic, creative director at Lion Game Lion.
Yes.
Also one of the co-founders of Overkill.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah, cool. Good to see you again.
Yeah. And on Payday, I did level design.
You did, yeah. Yes. We talked about that during the raid segment. And to my left, I have Joachim Wöntner, producer. Hello, Joachim. Producer on Payday 2 currently.
Yes.
And I think what brings us all together is our history with Payday 2, right? And the Payday franchise. Both Martin and Ilya were a part in creating the not only the company behind it, but also the original idea. And I know, Martin, you had a really fun anecdote, because people don't know this, right? But you're a special character in the Payday universe. We didn't talk about this before, but I think it's worth bringing up. You're also known as Bobblehead Bob, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe our players don't realize, but we do something that a lot of game developers do when they make video games. We put ourselves in the game, and sometimes we do it because it's not easy to find people who are willing to be in bank robbery games, so we have to be in them ourselves. But yeah, your character has a special place there for sure.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about the history of Overkill and especially Payday.
So, I mean, Overkill started from the ashes of Grin. So both me and Ilya worked together with Bo and some other nice people at Grin. And basically, we went bankrupt and then we restarted as Overkill.
Yeah.
And we
back in 2009, right?
Yeah. And yeah, basically we want to do a game that everyone felt fun to play. And we looked at the co-op games, especially like Left 4 Dead. Was a big inspiration, and after some testing, going back and forth, we started doing a bank heist game.
Yeah. And Ilya, how did the bank heist game come to be?
It started off as a weird sci-fi corridor something game, right? We knew we were gonna make a 4-player co-op shooter because, as Martin said, we played Left 4 Dead a lot.
Yeah.
And then it was a sci-fi shooter, and we started working on some of the mechanics. And I remember we went for lunch once, and Ulf, who was our game designer back then, he sort of did an Ulf thing and said like, oh, everybody wants to rob a bank. Like, we could give the money back. It doesn't have to be
it doesn't have to be a real robbery. Yeah.
just to feel the thrill and
Yeah.
We were watching a lot of Heat back then, also the movie.
Yeah, the movie Heat, bank robbery movie.
We're like, it
made sense.
Ooh, yeah. We came back, and then we started building the bank level, which is the demo and everything of the game.
Yeah,
it
was a spur of the moment.
I mean that had to be like one of the first really bank heister games where you really robbed stuff.
Yeah,
I mean GTA was early, but you mostly drove around at that time. There was no real bank robbing game. I mean, Payday must have been the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically at the same time they were working, or they released Ken Lynch, so that was the closest thing you can get.
Yeah, that was the inspiration as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Martin, you have a pretty funny anecdote as well regarding the name behind the game.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the game originally was called Stone Cold.
Yeah.
And
so Payday the Heist was originally called Stone Cold?
Yeah.
Okay.
Simple as that, just Stone Cold. And, well, basically we...
And sorry, how did you come up with the name Stone Cold? What?
It's an expression in Heat, I think.
Yeah, and there was a song we really liked that you remember.
I love it.
It's one of those.
Hammerfall.
Yeah, it's basically. I mean, somebody said that early on. I think, from Heat, and then it just stayed, and then it was like we just printed the logos and everything without really thinking about it.
Yeah,
but what happened then?
Yeah, so it was basically days before we were going to E3 to show it for the first time.
Yeah, in 2011.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm going to show it.
So you had made the game, you had named it, you were getting ready for E3, like the biggest show for the year.
Yeah, we had a
printed merchandise,
patches, bags, stuff like that with Stone Cold logo on it.
Yeah,
and then someone online, which was our publisher, contacted us and said basically that we can't use Stone Cold because it's trademarked by an American wrestler.
Yeah.
So, well, we basically okay.
This is like 10 in the evening.
Yeah.
A day or two before we need to get on a plane and like
something
leave for the show. Yeah.
So everyone gathered in the office kitchen basically, and like we need a new name. So everyone just started name dropping whatever, and it's a lot of discussions trying to get something with getting a co-op in there, or that it's about heisting or something like that.
Oh man, I wish I remember some of the bad ones. That would be fun too.
Oh yeah, there
to
was
have those now.
Probably some really weird things going on.
Yeah. But then basically, I remember. Yeah, I still remember Martin saying like Payday, and then it's 10 people saying names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then somebody goes like, well, "What did you like? What did you say? Payday?" Yeah, and then some more, and then we ended up with. I know I fucking hated it.
Yeah.
In the beginning, because it was so weird.
I mean, we are already like, it's Stone Cold. Why would it be anything else?
Yeah, because you get so attached to it, right?
Yeah. But you still needed a tagline as well to say something more about it, so that's why it became Payday the Heist.
Imagine if it was Stone Cold, we wouldn't be sitting here now.
Yeah. So you had a similar anecdote regarding Overkill. Have you heard this, Joachim?
Maybe not. I don't know.
Those I remember some of them.
Some of them. I know one of them that was closest.
So from what I understood, there was another company. Because what was the studio called before it was named Overkill?
Super Sledge.
Super Sledge, yeah. But then we changed it, right? Because there was another studio that had a super similar name.
Yeah.
Sledgehammer, yeah. And we didn't want to get confused, right?
No, exactly.
I still have that email. Yeah, Super Sledge.
Was it?
And I go and check it sometimes. Empty.
Still get the email from it, yeah.
Yeah. So Joachim, how long have you been with us now?
I started 3 years ago, I think. I started 3 weeks before we released the Bomb DLC, actually, that Ilya's team was producing.
Yeah.
So, and at that point, I started out as a QA.
Yeah. Working on the Payday 2 team. Yeah. Time flies, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it feels like yesterday we worked on Payday Heist.
Yeah.
And so what do you think? I mean, the three of you. This is like a general question to all three of you. Like, what do you think makes Payday tick? What made the game successful?
Well, the first component is of course the co-op game, and then the actual franchise. As I said, everyone wants to be a bank robber, right?
Yeah.
Doing that, so it kind of matched up very nicely. And there's so many references, so much content you can work around and expand on. I mean, we wouldn't have been able to expand on some other game maybe for 3-4 years like that. It's I wouldn't say easy, but you know.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do also with just the mode we were in doing it. I think it reflects the rock and roll. Like, let's just do something that we can sit around and play at lunch ourselves and then have fun. And that's why we keep, making it and stuff. And we just took the chance and said, if we find this fun, there's a chance, other people will as well. So there was no looking at trends or do we have this feature or that feature. It was just like, let's make something fun that we can play. And that's why it's the replayability and the randomness of it is there, because we, when we for us to have fun, we need to get surprised. So we started, etching each other on and play it now, and then you play it and somebody puts something in and like, oh, cool.
And I definitely think one of the biggest reasons as well is that we're gamers, right? So we played a ton of games in order to make Payday the success it is, right? And if you look at the way the studio's set up, and I think that even goes for Lion Game Lion these days, the QAs, right? The quality assurance guys, these people, the guys and the girls working on these teams, they're so important because their job is to ensure that the game is fun, right? And that's for me, that's like the biggest takeaway from this franchise, that it doesn't matter if you play Payday 2 or Payday the Heist for an hour or 10 minutes, right? You still manage to get the fun out of it. Yeah.
For me, it's always been about the replayability of the game, that you can succeed on the first roll bank like 10 times in a row, but like the 11th time you come up there and you just gonna escape and there's a bulldozer merging you down and your friends is already out and everything goes to hell.
And the situations that like appear because of the replayability, right? We have the randomization systems and so on with the different enemies coming from different spaces. And I think the cool thing is that because it's a multiplayer game, right? But it's a co-op game. So and because it's a 4-player game, you're 25% of the team. So if it's only you and me left, Joachim, for example, and you get gunned down by a bulldozer, I have to make a decision, right? That isn't like a part of the design. It's not a part of the objective in the mission, but it's like a moral compass kind of choice, right?
It becomes an objective.
Yeah, it becomes suddenly I have a new objective. Do I leave Joachim behind, or do I just run for it, right?
I think
I would run for it.
Like
definitely.
the replayability stuff. There's actually for a fact I know that there's some stuff that players still haven't found in Payday 2.
Really? That
I
don't know about either.
No.
Oh my God.
But just as you said, the co-op thing and the teamwork, that's the biggest thing we worked on, and the biggest decisions were always these. I mean, we had a bunch of stuff where, you have secret assignments that are for the client only, so like you would get something yourself, and we had a bunch of stuff in the game that we just, pulled everything out, made sure it's like pure co-op combat. Have fun with your friends. That's just
play together, stick together. Just make it out alive.
All right, cool. Just like a final question for you, Ilya, and for you, Martin. What's your favorite memories from making Payday the Heist and Payday 2? Do you have a particularly fond memory?
I think actually the first time, I said when we went to E3, after the Stone Cold is now Payday thing, went to E3, no one knew about us at all, and suddenly there's a lot of people lining up to play the game. It felt kind of like people started talking about it, and they came over from the other hall. I don't remember if it was East.
I remember the guy who was like, "Can I get a mask? Everybody's wearing these masks."
Yeah,
we only had 4.
Yeah, we had 4 masks. We basically had masks on us, with us, and walked around just to get attention. And then some people thought that would be nice to have, And then one of the bigger thing, one certain singer came around.
Oh yeah, we met Gene Simmons from Kiss.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, he got to try the game.
His daughter.
His daughter.
Oh, really?
And she fell in love with Simon. And
oh, the composer, yeah. Lord Simon Wiklund. Yeah.
Don't we all?
Don't everyone fall in love with him? Yeah, for sure. So, Ilya, did you have a fond memory?
There's a lot of fond memories, especially now.
Pick one.
Yeah, I guess that really close to release when we figured there was something wrong with the network stuff, and we just packed up, like me, Martin, and Ulf.
That's for Payday the Heist, right?
3 in the morning, and we just grab 2 cabs, go to his place. His wife and kids don't know we're there, so they wake up in the morning and there's like bearded men with matrix machines set up in the living room, like cables everywhere, and just like, what's this? What year is it
now?
The kids go like, oh my God. Sleeping on floor.
Yeah.
I think that's
people don't realize that, but there's a lot of sleeping on floors when you make games at a certain point in the stage. Yeah. So thank you so much, Martin, Ilya, for taking the time to talk to us about the history of Payday.
Yeah. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So Joachim, we're going to focus a bit on the future of Payday, right? Because you're the current main producer for Payday 2, right?
I am.
Yeah.
I am. We have two more, Simon and Tobias, that runs the game now as well.
Yeah, and they're back at the studio,
Yes,
making sure everything works.
Yeah, I call them at every hour and see, do you still work? Yeah, good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us, what's been happening since you started as producer on Payday 2? What's been your focus?
My main focus, my first year when I was an associate producer, was to pick up as much information from you as my mentor, and also Andreas, who works now on Crossfire, to pick up the core values of what Payday is today.
Yeah.
Replayability, having fun, you know, having these surprises always come up.
Listening to the community, talking to them.
Talking to them. Yeah, that's basically it. And now my first year as main producer, I've been focusing mainly on stability of the game.
Yeah.
And that's been my main focus for now.
Yeah, like what? Because, I mean, we have a couple of things we'd like to talk about, right?
Yeah, so one of the main things that's coming up really, really soon, and that's a really good fix, is the desync.
Yeah.
We actually, after a few years, managed to get a hold of desync, and we know what it is.
Really?
Yes, we know what it is, and we fixed it to, like, let's say 60-70% now.
Yeah.
We will soon ship it out in a beta.
For the community to try it out?
Yeah, and also get the feedback in, like, what is still, you know, the tweaks and
what works, what doesn't. Yeah, that sounds great. Anything else other than that? I know we talked about balancing.
We're working a bit with the balancing. The game took another turn last Crime Fest.
Yeah, during the housewarming party?
Yes.
This fall, yeah.
Where we introduced 2 new difficulties. We introduced the medic, and we rebalanced the enemies a bit. We figured now that they are a bit too tough, a bit too spongy. You need too much bullets to kill them.
Yeah.
So now we're also looking at the AI behavior.
Yeah.
So what we will try to do is tone down a bit on the enemies and trying to get them a bit smarter so they attack you faster, quicker, and have more tactics in them instead of, you know, making them tougher.
I get it. Right.
That's a big thing.
Anything else you'd like to share with the community now?
Yes. A last thing we have been working really, really hard on, it's the updating of the game. Every time we release an update, we get the salt mines working on Steam, you know, everybody gets mad.
And why do they get mad?
They get mad because it doesn't take so long to download our game, but then it's, you know, the updating process is really rough.
Yeah.
And when we update, even if it's only one file, it takes a full package because the game is you know, divided into packages.
Okay, I get it.
So we've been working on a new system, or a fixed-up system, that will make it a lot better.
Okay,
I won't go
great
into
news.
any details because I probably need 2 programmers with me. Then.
Yeah, but we're gonna follow up with the community, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So. We've got you know, with the wonders of technology, you know, we and the studio setup. So we've managed to switch out 2 people and invite 2 more. So before we show them, what we're going to talk about now is something really weird and special. For April Fools this year in Payday 2, we had this crazy idea that we'd take a couple of online YouTubers and introduce them as heisters into Payday 2. To joke with the Payday community, and obviously we didn't add them for real, but we made sure it looked like they were added for real, and we added some of the symbols that they're so famous for. Some of them being beanies that the players now can have, and I'd like to introduce them because they're sitting right here next to us. Welcome to the studio, Ethan and Hila. Hey guys!
Thanks for having us. So nice to be here.
So we have Hila Klein. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here.
How does it feel being in Sweden?
It's fun. We love it. Yeah.
You guys have had a busy few days.
Man, it has been. I love how Hila has a mic. By the way, you look like a badass DJ, dude.
Yeah. And next to Hila we have Ethan, right? Hey,
you need
Ethan.
to drop that mic before we leave here today.
mic drop.
Yeah, for sure.
Ethan, how is it being here in Sweden?
Sweden's awesome. I was expecting it to be cold, so I wasn't surprised when it was cold.
Yeah. But you guys were super unlucky.
Yeah,
I mean, out of nowhere, you know, we had this great summer going, and then you guys come over, and suddenly the clouds go dark. And
everyone's blaming us for bringing the cold weather in, but frankly, I mean, it seems like we did.
Yeah.
Because it was beautiful the day after, and it's beautiful the day after we leave.
Yeah. While we're here, it's snowing.
It snowed. I liked it. It was special for me. Everyone in the country was miserable. I'm like, this is magical. I love snow.
Yeah, cool. So we have a pretty cool announcement, right?
Yes.
So yeah, you guys want to share it with the world?
Okay, so well, I mean, it's not a joke anymore. Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
It's not a joke
anymore.
Well, it started as an April Fool's joke, and it was fun doing it, like working with you guys just to make a little goof.
Yeah.
And then people were really liked the idea of me being in the game, us being in the game.
I like the idea too.
Yeah, it was fun, and I enjoyed the process of doing it and goofing around with you guys.
And Hila, you said you were disappointed when he wasn't actually added to the
when
game.
the day was over, and then it was like, okay, what now? It was kind of sad.
Yeah, it was. It was sad. So apparently people were signing petitions. Everyone on our subreddit and your guys as well was super excited to play as us. So we said, flipping god dang it, we're going to do it. You said that to me, and I said, cool.
Yeah, and what we did was we flew you guys over. You've been at the studio now for a couple of days, talking with the Payday team.
Yeah.
You know, trying to figure out a good perk deck.
Yep.
Figuring out, you know, how are we supposed to do this?
Yep.
Is it Ethan who's going to be a character? Is it Hilo who's going to be a character? And we decided both of you are going to be characters, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Hilo's going to be a character.
So for the Payday community out there, you know, we're excited to announce that we're adding Ethan and Hila as 2 playable characters. They're going to be available this fall. They are going to be the last DLC for Payday 2. And before you guys flip, let me explain what that means, right? They are going to be the last.
Guys, I'm ruining your game.
Yeah. So what we're doing is, it's a pretty cool thing, right? Because we really appreciate you guys, right? We really like your stuff on YouTube. We have you guys have a ton of fans at Starbreeze Studios. We know a lot of the Payday heisters out there enjoy you guys too, right? And we know, you know, internet life can be rough, right?
Let me tell you, dude, ups and downs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It can get hard out there.
And for anyone who follows you guys, they know what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, it's cold out there, boy. And it's not just Sweden.
So what we wanted to do is that we want to support you guys, right? So what we're doing together with the Payday community, because I know there's so much heart and soul in the Payday community, right? Because they've been with us through thick and thin. Yeah. You know, we've done a lot of bad screw-ups in the past. You know, we were like, let's add microtransactions, and they were like, no, and we're like, yeah, and we were like, okay, we're sorry.
I love how you own it, man.
Yeah, and you know, we have to own it, you know, because that's why they respect us still, you know, and we respect them, and that's why we have to do it. And I remember, you know, me and you were talking, like, we have to take this, you know, properly, you know, because we can't have a bad vibe in the community, you know. The community means so much to us, you know.
Well, I'll say, I just started recently playing. I mean, you said the game is like 4 years old, right?
Yeah.
And I've been playing, and it's like still vibrant. There's still a ton of people on there.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and it's still super fun.
So what we're doing is that we're making this DLC together, right? It's going to be a character pack. It's going to be called Ethan and Hila Character Pack. It's going to be available for $4.99 US. And the cool thing about that, guys, is that when you buy it, obviously Gaben takes his 30%,
Gaben
right?
always takes his 30. He's like the godfather. Yeah, there's 3 rules in life. You die, you pay taxes, and Gaben takes his 30, guys. There's no always. So you guys know that better than me.
Yeah, so Val obviously, because when you release something on Steam, Val takes a cut, right? And usually we get the rest, right? Especially now when we acquired back the rights to the game.
Yeah.
But what we want to do with this game, this DLC, is that we want to give all that revenue to Ethan and Hila, right? Because we want to support you guys. It's a gift from us to you guys.
Honestly,
so, you know.
it's incredible.
It's really amazing.
I'm speechless when Almir, we first started talking about this, and he's like, we want to do this collaboration. I was like, awesome, super exciting. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to talk about the cut and everything. He's like, and so anyway, you guys just get to keep all the money. I was like, what? And I mean, it's so gracious. It's so nice that you guys can buy this DLC, and essentially you're just directly supporting us. It's
Thank
incredible.
you. But, you know, this is, for us, you know, this is just about you guys and the Payday community, right? Because for us, you know, we just want the Payday community, because it's basically because of them that we want to do this, you know, because they sign, like you said, they sign petitions and so on online. You know, they were so eager to see this be made into a reality. So, yeah, heisters out there, you got your wish. You know, if you want to support these guys, make sure you grab the DLC, all right?
It's a great value, guys. You get 2 characters for the price of 1. There's going to be laughs, gaffs, and beanies, and riots, incidentally, as well.
And thank you. And thank you to your team, because we met them, and there's going to be so much work just to make this happen.
I mean,
It's really
we met
cool.
with a ton of people, and there's still a lot of work to do.
Cool.
Like in voiceover and stuff. And I'm like, all these guys are working for like just to support us. I mean, thank you guys and thank all you guys. It's awesome.
And I'm gonna make sure you work on the voiceover.
I'm down. I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm ready to work.
And, you know, I talked to Damien Poitier, who portrays the Chains, one of the heisters, one of the original heisters in the Payday crew. He wasn't too pleased about this, you know. Who's this? A nobody heister? Does he even know how to open a vault? You know, so he's, you know, he's going to be a hard one to win over. Yeah, he's going to be a hard one to win over. So we'll see how that one ends up. But yeah.
Oh, it's going down. I'm calling you out, dude.
Yeah, cool. So I mentioned, and people are probably still flipping out about it. So this is going to be the last DLC for Payday 2. Right. What that means is that all the upcoming DLC for Payday 2 is going to be free after this DLC, right? So any new items that we release for Payday 2 is going to be released for free.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And the reason is because we, at this point in time with Payday 2, because it's been out for such a long time, we made a ton of money on it thanks to the support of our community.
And Gaben.
And Gaben.
30%.
Thank you, Gaben. Yeah. Papa bless.
He's killing it.
That's Gaben.
Gaben is killing it.
So what we're doing now, we're transitioning into the next phase of Payday 2's life cycle, right? So as we have enough cash now to start working on the pre-production of Payday 3.
I love when you say cash.
Yeah. So we can do that while at the same time continuing to work on Payday 2 and adding more content for free, right? And Joachim's going to spearhead that, of course, with the rest of the Payday team. And we also have another announcement, because last time we spoke about it, we said end of 2017 we're going to stop development on Payday 2, right? But you've got some other news to share as well.
Yes, we are continuing supporting Payday 2 until October 2018.
That's just awesome, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that.
That will be the best crime fest ever.
Yeah.
So prepare for the party invites.
Awesome.
I look forward to it, dude. So, I mean, we've been talking about a lot of fun stuff, right? But we also have, you know, we've talked a lot about the PC stuff here, you know, coming out on Steam. But we also have, you know, Payday 2 available on Xbox One and PlayStation 4, right? But
soon something new.
Yeah, and soon Nintendo Switch as well, which is going to be crazy, right?
Really?
But
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, you guys didn't know about that?
No, I didn't hear about that. That's super cool.
Yeah, so you can bring it with you.
Hell yeah.
So tell us just briefly, Joachim, what's going on with the consoles? Are we still updating them, or what's up?
We are still updating the consoles. To make it crank, we had a rough start. We had a mid phase, and now we're starting to see the light.
That's
so
awesome.
After this upcoming DLC that's coming, it's going to be a brighter future. It's going to go faster. We found a system. Everything's working. We staffed up even more
on the console department.
Even more.
Awesome.
Yeah. So everything's going great, and I hope soon we'll have some great news for our console heisters. And thank you, the console heisters, for having the patience with us. Yeah. We really love you guys out there and your support.
Thanks, guys. So, you know, right now on Steam, not only did we announce Antisphere, and that's available for pre-order, and you get Payday stuff if you buy it, so definitely check that out. We also just created the biggest sale we've ever had for Payday 2 DLC. You can currently get all Payday 2 DLC for 85% off on Steam up until the 8th of June, right? That's a great deal. Make sure you check them out. And the reason we're doing that is because, like we're talking, you know, we're transitioning Payday 2 into its final life cycle, and we're basically making a new edition of Payday 2 called Payday 2 Ultimate Edition, right? So there is more to read about this. Make sure you check out our social channels, our Overkill Twitter account. There's a link there for how you reach the FAQ, where you can read up on the Ultimate edition of Payday 2. But what it essentially means is that going after the 8th of June, there will only be one item available in the Payday 2 store, and that's the Ultimate Edition. There won't be any DLCs to purchase anymore, because all of those will be packed into the Ultimate Edition. And since, you know, to honor, you know, the support of our original heisters, you know, the career criminals who've been following us for the past 5-6 years, you know, playing Payday the Heist and Payday 2, thank you, and thank you so much for your support. And we want to honor you guys by making sure that the remaining content for Payday 2 is free for everyone in the Payday 2 community. So thank you.
You should run for public office, dude. Sounds very inspirational.
Should I?
Free.
Maybe in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Because I know it well nowadays, right? Because Payday 2 is set in Washington, D.C.
Yeah,
so I know my way around that city.
Let's go. I'm here for president.
Cool. So we're going to have an opportunity to talk about a couple of more Payday stuff. Let's have a look at Payday Crime War. All right, welcome back. That was Payday Crime War. Some really cool footage
Looks
we got
awesome.
there.
Looks super fun.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
So Payday Crime War is currently being made by Badfly together with Starbreeze Barcelona, and they're doing a hell of a job. So yeah, we're sending them all our blessings, and I hope we can get this game out the door as soon as possible, because I want to be able to take Payday with me wherever I go. Right?
Yeah.
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 That'd be awesome.
You
I'll
guys,
play it,
you'll
yeah.
play it. You're gonna heist it.
Yeah, I like, I like mobile games.
There's not enough good mobile games. I
Yeah.
feel like all the mobile games are so boring. I'm so desperate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I hear it. I hear it. I hear it. So we're trying to get into
Let's
that.
get in there,
and
boy.
it's going to be really fun, right? Because
Yeah.
this is our first test, going into mobile with Payday, and we're really excited to show that as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool. But we also have something else we're going to talk about when it comes to Payday, and we mentioned, in the hype for this event, that there's an exclusive thing we're going to announce, right? And brace for it, guys, because here it is. So what you're going to see now is going to happen soon. Check it out. Welcome back. So that was the secret reveal. We're doing Payday 2 VR, and we are so incredibly excited to share this with everyone in the Payday community. And you know why? Because you get it for free.
Woo!
If you own Payday 2, you
President
get Payday
Almir.
2 VR for free.
Give it out for free, boy. What else
Yeah.
you got?
Hold on.
You got it
We
all,
got
man.
more. We got more coming up. So this is something that we've been working on for a long time, right, Joachim?
Yes. It's been in development for a long time. We had a bunch of team members working day and night.
Yeah,
on
I know
this.
Matthias, our head of fun, have been working really hard on this together with Tobias, one of the producers on the game.
That's been special assigned to this task.
Yeah. And
We've come amazingly far, I would say.
Yeah. So to explain to people watching, Payday 2 VR is Payday 2, only in VR. So you can
Full
play
content.
all content available.
All content.
And you can play it using your already created characters in Payday 2, right? So you just start up the game using VR. You can use all the skills, all the perk decks, all the masks, all the weapon setups you have, and just jump in with your friends, because you can... Usually, you would go, oh, you can only play with other VR people. No, this is cross-play. Yes. You can play together with the PC heisters.
Do you think that people in VR will be disadvantaged a little bit?
No, I wouldn't say they would be disadvantaged.
Just because it's like a little, it's different.
No. I mean, you gotta have the aim.
You gotta have it, boy.
But it sounds
really fun.
Yeah. So it's really cool, when you play with akimbos in game on a PC, it's only forward. But in this case, you can actually, I shoot a cop here, I shoot a cop there, and you can go, feel all matrix and all that. That's super cool.
Yeah, it sounds really fun.
And you know, it's great to be able to give it for free to everyone who's already committed to Payday 2, right? So if they already have a Vive setup or whatever, they can just jump in and try it out and just enjoy themselves.
Love when you say free, dude. I just like.
And I think, you know, personally, I haven't heard of a VR game that has that amount of content.
Not if FPS, no.
Yeah.
Probably no game.
Doesn't exist.
Content.
Does not exist.
Yeah. So heisters, if you're interested in VR and if you like heisting, definitely check Payday 2 out because you're getting a VR game for free. All right. So, by the way, you guys had a meetup here in Stockholm, right?
Yes. Man, we had it was insane. Yeah, we've never had a fan meetup before, and this morning, well, so many people in Stockholm were recognized. It was insane. It's like more than even in LA that we get recognized, and we're like, everyone was just so nice and gracious that we felt almost like obligated, like we have to do this to just say what up and express our gratitude to everyone.
Yeah. Some people just came up here just looking for us in Stockholm randomly, and
like,
they actually found us.
Yeah, like a lot of people. They're like, oh, I was just wandering around Stockholm.
I met one guy who was like, hey, have you seen Ethan and Hila? And I'm like, who are you? He was like, I've been looking for them for 2 days. I was like, dude, what are you doing?
Crazy. But it's like, it was really touching just to see how much love we had here.
Yeah.
So we told Almer, we're like, hey, we want to do a fan meetup, but
we don't know how.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure how to approach it. So I said, okay, I'll call you back in 30 minutes. He calls me back. He's like, all right, I booked a place. I got you bodyguards. You know, I was like, wow. You went all the way. So this morning we met up, and I think there was probably like 2,000 people there. It was absolute.
Yeah, I don't know, but the line
chaos.
was going around the building, right? You showed us.
I couldn't count as many as there were. Yeah. And when you guys were trying to leave, because obviously you couldn't talk to everyone, right? Because you only have a limited time here. Yeah.
We were there for 2 hours, and I think we saw like 200 people. So we didn't even scratch the surface. So I felt horrible for the people who were waiting out in the freezing cold for several hours. So to you guys out there, appreciate you. Sorry we didn't have more time, but we love and appreciate you guys and you guys as well.
Yeah, and if you want to make sure these guys come back here, then you just need to buy a couple of the Ethan and Hila character pack.
Hey,
and you know that'll pay for the flight and everything.
Yeah,
right?
Listen, you support buy like 5 of them, and then the other 30%, like that goes to us, and then the 30% goes to Gabe. Maybe he'll make Half-Life 3 someday. It's win-win, you know. Yeah, I mean it's all win.
Wouldn't that be funny if he would say that, you know, so I thought of never doing it, but, you know, when Ethan said that, I was like,
we have so much revenue.
Yeah.
It's time.
By the way, I just want to emphasize that in the DLC, it's not just me. You get me and Hila, which is something we worked out recently. We were trying to figure out how to incorporate Hila, and we're just like, screw it, both of them.
Yeah.
Hila's going to be in that game ripping it up, bro. Yeah.
That's going to be amazing.
I'm very excited. Yeah.
So, guys, we got to wrap up, right? Because, you know, we've got to continue the show. We've got some more awesome stuff to show the people watching the stream.
I understand. I'm getting bumped.
Again, you know, I just want to, you know, but I'm trying to be nice here, you know?
No, I understand.
But again, you know, guys, we really appreciate you. You know, thank you so much for coming out here to Stockholm, you know.
It was a joy and a privilege and an honor. Thanks for having us out. I mean, you guys are the best.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. So, thanks, guys. So, continuing to talk about VR. VR is obviously something that is super, super close to our hearts. We at Starbreeze Studios believe VR is the future of video game entertainment. And we've got our very own global director of VR here to tell you more about it. Give your hand for Brooks Brown, who's in the next segment.
Guys, I'm here with Brooks Brown, and you have the craziest title ever. What is it?
Global Director Virtual Reality here at Starbreeze Studio.
Wow, that's so crazy. So you are just in the thick of it with VR stuff, man.
More or less. It's we're building our own headset. We've got our own engine that we're using for VR. We're building a whole bunch of VR experiences. We've got things that we're putting into IMAX VR at a lot of other locations. Just, we're in the middle of a lot of it.
Yeah, and it's an exciting time because I feel like VR now is at a place where PC gaming was like 20 years ago, like with Half-Life maybe, or like, you know, or Half-Life 2 even.
No, I would say if you want to go back to Half-Life, one of the things Half-Life was kind of a bellwether for is people understanding how to make games that told stories in a different way. It was up till then, it was Doom was basically what people replicated, and Half-Life taught us that we could tell different styles of games, and a lot of stuff exploded from that. And I think in VR, we're at that place where right now, most of the VR stuff you have is, you know, fun toys, which is really great. but we're in the middle of exploring what does it mean to tell stories, how do we get people to have ridiculous experiences, how do we really create immersion in a really brand new way.
And this is exciting, crazy stuff, and it blows my mind. I can't wait to get my hands on most of this stuff. But I've got to ask you the most important question. How ridiculous do you think this interview will be 20 years from now?
Oh, I will cringe so badly it'll cause a black hole. No, I start a lot of my talks by just saying, and everything I say here that's a declarative statement, in 3 months I will say I'm wrong and that I was an asshole the whole time. Because we're rapidly moving. John Wick, which we're really excited we're going to have you play today, when we first started it was cutting edge, pure, top of the line VR, and you know, when we released it, it really is. And now that we're 2 months in, we're looking at all these other experiences. It moves so fast. You're talking about 3-month release cycles, and people are putting out stuff we can't even have imagined 6 months ago.
Oh man!
And so a year from now, it's going to be ridiculous. 6 months from now, I'll probably actually be really embarrassed in general by a lot of the stuff I probably say here. But you know, that's what makes it so fun. If it was easy, it wouldn't be worth doing.
Cool. Sure.
All right.
Oh,
you see a gun?
Yeah, I see the floating gun.
There you go. And perfect.
Okay.
Now you just held the gun properly there.
All right. Holy shit, dude. John Wick Chronicles.
I'm glad you liked it.
I loved it. It's definitely the most immersive VR experience I've had yet.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit earlier before we were on camera about all the things that make something immersive, and you know, we've really spent a lot of time. The headset we think is a big thing. You know, our headset's built from the beginning to be location-based. We're never going to create a version 1.0 that fits in a box and sits on a shelf at Best Buy. It's not in our product plan. Instead, we're trying to always stay so far ahead of the curve. So right now our headset's 5K. That's going to go up.
Oh man!
We're adding in eye tracking, so that way we can do really cool stuff. On the nerd side of things, there's foveated rendering, which means that we can render only what you're looking at in order to save GPU, which is awesome. So we can go really, really crazy with you know, poly count and things. But at the same time, for someone like me who really spends time in the writing and the creative side, I can, like the Black Mirror episode, know what scares you and keep doing that thing. So, you know, my running joke is I actually want to ruin someone's life inside of VR, if I can.
So, okay, let's talk a little bit about horror then, because I feel like VR is really perfect for.
I agree, and I think there's a lot of steps even beyond that. There's the ability in general for VR to take you and put you in a situation that is entirely uncomfortable. And uncomfortable can be scary, which I think is going to be great. We're partners with a number of different companies of scary stuff, like, for example, Skybound and The Walking Dead, which our first VR experience was actually The Walking Dead. So, you know, you're an amputee in a wheelchair, wheeled through a hospital, and then, spoiler alert, everyone dies.
Oh,
I know everyone's shocked by that. But it was so intense for a lot of people. We got people screaming and screaming and screaming and crying when they came out of it.
So you almost ruined people's lives.
We came close. It was a really good learning experience for us to see how far we can really push that level of immersion. And you know, John Wick, to your point, is more of a time crisis, arcadey kind of classic experience. But we have a whole direction of things we think you can be uncomfortable dramatically, humor-wise. You know, I look at discomfort like Curb Your Enthusiasm. How brilliant would it be to be able to really have...
man, like you're Larry David.
Like having those moments, or even that emotion. When I watch that show, I identify with him. But being able to be in those situations and be able to experience that, there is a way to recontextualize every experience. And it's really what we think we can do inside a location-based.
Oh my God. See, these are things my feeble mind never even traveled to, but this is your job.
It's literally all I do, yeah.
Wow, this is blowing my mind because the possibilities seem endless right now. I mean, have you hit limitations? Have you hit problems that are kind of like...
We're early, I think would be the way to put it.
Sure,
we're still very junior. I go to conferences, and I got introduced as a veteran of virtual reality, which is, I think, almost an embarrassment to the whole industry as a whole. Because I've been only doing this for about a year. And so
someone was shaking their fist in the audience?
Yeah,
like...
veteran's very loose title at this point. We're still super early. We're still learning about, you know, simple stuff like how do you let someone reload? Or one of my favorites, inside the John Wick experience, we have these brick blocks that sort of make up the perimeter. you can actually stick your hand through the whole thing and sit inside of the cement blocks and shoot everyone safely.
Oh,
you
so
can
it's like
totally
a little
do that.
trick. Yeah.
But how do we stop someone from doing that? Because in a normal video game, like if you're playing with a controller, you have an animation where they hit the wall and then they're sidled up against it. You have physics and all that. But if I'm moving my hand, I don't have physics. So how far do we actually literally build out the bricks, like physically build the bricks?
Oh, wow.
So it matches what you're seeing in the headset. All of that stuff, we're right on the cusp of learning.
Wow,
So it's really step one.
Have you
of
played with
1,000.
that
We have.
concept, and how does that work? I mean, have you found that it works?
Does it work? The problem is the more you give people the excuse to play in the world, the crazier they go.
Sure.
So people will start leaping over those, or they will try to knock them down. It's the way humans learn. I'm a big believer in the concept of homo ludens, so the idea that humanity is play.
Sure.
That's where we learn. And the more that we give people an immersive environment, the more they play with how deep they can go into it. And that's what a lot of people are seeing in some of the really amazing VR stuff that's out there, is if you give a mouse a cookie, it really goes crazy. It's brilliant designers who made Job Simulator, for example.
Oh, I love Job Simulator.
I adore that game. And they give you like rabbit holes to run down of interactivity, and no matter what, you hit a wall. At some point, because the more interactivity they give you, the more you take, and the more you take, and you run with it. And there's only so much you can really program in. So there's a lot of things we're still exploring in all these spaces to really see what it means to play in a fully virtual space. And hello everyone on the Starstream. They're in Stockholm. I'm actually out here in LA. My name's Brooks Brown. I head up VR here. We've had a whole bunch of really, really fun announcements in VR, but I wanted to take some time to actually talk to a team we've had for a while now, I think about a year almost. Camille and Max from our wonderful game Elementara. It's a fantastic little game where you get to go around and actually play with ecosystems and all kinds of really fun stuff. It's a really fun thing to be able to play with in VR. But I'll let you guys talk a little bit more. Tell us about Elementara.
Well, Elementara is a portal into another dimension where there are these spirits that use elemental powers to create and change little planets.
You're in the face of this cataclysmic cosmic event. You have the ability to rebuild these worlds and their ecosystems. So you've got these archipelagos with animals and plants that are really in need, and you have the ability to repair these spaces. So you're lifting up the land, connecting creatures to food sources and to what the plants need as well.
One of the things that really inspired us to do this was the idea that with VR, we could finally get a sense of what it's like to have a superpower and to interact with the world telekinetically.
No, definitely. And as you use this power, I know, Camille, you spent a ton of time on designing these little bits. We're seeing some things behind us on the screen. You've done a phenomenal job with the art. What was the inspiration for the art style for what you guys did?
So we wanted something that felt really natural, even though it's stylized and digital, so that when you're in that space, you feel really immersed. It feels believable. It feels responsive. On the other end, we also wanted it to have the kind of fidelity that would make it satisfying when you're right up close and personal to these creatures and plants.
Now that you've been doing this for a year, you've been part of the Star VR, Starbreeze journey. What is your personal favorite reason that you're doing VR versus traditional games, console games, mobile games, all of which probably are a lot easier for you to get into? What brought you to VR?
Really what it does is it lets us forget about the technology, and instead of thinking about buttons and schemes, we're just reaching out and touching the thing and grabbing the thing, and it's a lot more human.
It's fantastic. How about you, Camille, on the art side?
As I moved from drawing 2D art on a 2D surface to making 3D art on a flat surface, I realized I really missed that depth that I was trying to recreate on the screen. And suddenly in VR, you have that stereoscopic depth. And so it feels really organic to say, I want to move this thing behind this other object, or I'm going to rotate it. And like Max had mentioned, it feels really human in the way that you interact with it. And for me, it was really exciting to hopefully give non-artists or non-technical people the ability to make those things quickly and easily and have something pretty and satisfying and even functional. with our project in the end.
And of course, beyond just the two of you guys, you have a larger team, massive team behind you.
Oh, yes.
I think it's 4 people.
Yep.
Yeah, we got 2 more of us.
Oh my God, just so many. Of course, I want you guys to be able to give a shout out to the other rock stars on your team.
Yeah, we've got Ian Donahue. He is our strategy and operations guy. He's done startups before, so he knows how to keep the gears turning.
Yeah, and then we were lucky enough to be able to bring Dark Carrasquillo on board. She's a fantastic 3D artist.
Yeah, they're both fantastic and super fun to have in the office. So it's been great having you guys around. So I'll be sending it back to everyone back there at Starbreeze Stockholm. Thank you for everything. Wish I could share more. We will have more to share soon.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Still watching the stream. This is a proper marathon, isn't it? And it's not over yet. This is the final stretch. And you know what? We saved the best for last because a storm is brewing and our CEO, Bo Anderson, is being interviewed by my dear friend and colleague Maeva. What you're going to see next is going to be long, but it's going to be good. And there might be something cool at the end. Make sure you check it out and stay focused.
Hi, Bo. Good to have you here. I know you have a busy schedule, and we're really glad you can make time to have this chat today. So we showcased everything that we have on our slate, almost, in the Star stream. We've gone through some VR, and we've talked a lot with our partners, Tim Schafer, Warren Spector, in the couch with you. That was spectacular. So let's focus a little bit more on Starbreeze and what we're doing on the corporate side.
Yeah.
So when I started in 2014, we were barely 50 people in one office, very much smaller than this one. Payday 2 was just kicking off, and you had taken the business from being a one-trick pony and a work-for-hire company to a very profitable business with expanded revenue streams and possibilities. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Amazing journey, huh? Going from being a work-for-hire developer to your independent developer status where you own your own destiny, then expanding that into becoming a publisher, and giving that opportunity to other independent developers, and now having the opportunity to create AAA titles of fantastic franchises such as The Walking Dead and Crossfire, and also, as you will see, Storm. It's something amazing to have done this journey, right? But we're not done. We're not done. We're still expanding. We're still building amazing things around us. More people are coming in to join this journey. And as you can see, the Starbreeze office is lively.
So we're expanding our office quite a bit, right?
Oh yeah. It's tearing down walls, putting more people in, building more great games. I think we're expanding with almost 1,200 square meters right now.
So that's double the size?
That's double the size, So there's a lot more coming from Starbreeze, and it's a fast forward march all the time. I have a bed in my office for a reason, and but it's fun. It's great, and we get to create amazing things here at Starbreeze, and it's something that we all live and die for.
So in 2014, we moved to Nasdaq First North, and we already then announced our ambition to move to the main market. Now it's 2017, and we've been discussing to actually make the move this year. How's that process going?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long process, and every time you do such a big move, a lot of things needs to happen. It's not only legal works and certifications, etc. It's also preparing the organization itself, which we've been doing. We've been doing really well, and we're pretty ready for this. One other big thing that we're doing is building a portfolio of games so that we have a proper lineup when we do this change or this uplist.
So we met with Nasdaq a couple of weeks ago, so the formal process has started?
It started, yes. It's actually been going on for quite a while, but now we're really rolling, and I might not say it's exciting, but it's good to have going, yeah.
This week we announced that we moved the launch window of Overkill's The Walking Dead. Do you have some details to share?
Sure, and why? As in any big game production, it's really hard to tell when you're done and read the schedule precisely. We've been working very hard with like 80 people on this project for a long time, and we've been pushing the game with core technology that is very, very ambitious. And simply, we need to push that technology even further, and we need to build more content, because we want this to be a really big game, a AAA game that is going to be with us for years to come. You don't simply release these things when they're not as good as they can be. So the development team and I agreed that we need to push it a year. And as you saw, the quality of the game is really high, and making a large game like this at this quality requires some serious time to get the craft right.
And I'm really looking forward to see more information about the game coming up. This was just a sneak preview, and it's going to be really exciting to follow the journey from now on.
It's going to be a scary, fun, long game.
We've touched upon diversifying Starbreeze business, and we now have a fully functional publishing house in Starbreeze. We're now housing giants as Mr. Spectre and Mr. Schaefer that you just sat down and talked to. And I just need to say, it's amazing to be able to publish System Shock 3 and Psychonauts 2, two such major franchises. Isn't that insane?
They're legends, aren't they? I mean, it's amazing. I was a little boy when I played their games, and I mean, specifically like System Shock, the original one. The titles that Tim Schafer has been involved in, just mind-blowing, mind-blowing. Day of the Tentacle, which kind of spawned my ambition to take over the world, and also Grim Fandango, you know, A Brush with Death, all that stuff. Fantastic guys to work with, and we're really excited about System Shock 3 and Psychonauts 2. It's going to be a feather in our hat.
Quite the journey in the future.
Yes, amazing.
So what's your vision for Starbreeze Publishing going forward?
Well, looking over the shoulder, from an indie perspective, it's hard to break into the market, right? It's something to do a game, but to publish one and actually reach the global market, it's not an easy thing. For Overkill, we were quite lucky. We were out early. We learned by doing lots of iterations. We had a good run because we made a fantastic FPS that worked for us. So what we want to do is help other developers. We want to fund them, but we also want to teach them with our knowledge on how to do this. So we want to be that friendly publisher that funds, that comes in, doesn't own your IP, lets you run with it, but guides you through the process. This is good for indies, of course, but also for legends. I mean, we spoke to these guys, right? And they just jumped on the train because this is something they couldn't get from other publishers. So we want to continue pushing that. We want to build a broader portfolio, maybe not just FPSs, but third-person shooters, you know, people jumping around like this, and try to experiment with games and bring that fun back into publishing.
How will we expand the publishing business going forward?
Well, we're looking into new genres that we haven't visited before, and also new platforms like the Switch. I really like the Nintendo heritage, and we would like to be a big publisher on that platform.
So Payday 2 has been out for 4 years now. How's it going?
Payday 2 is just going fantastic. I mean, we got Scarface in. John Wick did a new appearance. Original content is flowing into the game. We had 52,000 people playing the other day. After 4 years, that's pretty amazing. And as you heard, we're expanding the game even more. So I'm super happy about Payday 2. And we're planning great things.
Payday is our own IP, and we've been talking for quite some time now about expanding the universe outside of the PC game. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
So the expansion is happening everywhere. Everybody wants to heist, right? So the Switch platform, which is fantastic. Finally, I get to play with Nintendo. We're doing even the VR, which is just an amazing game. It's 55 full heists in virtual reality. I mean, think about that. You run around all the levels just as you did in Payday. You use your character that you've been playing maybe 2,000–3,000 hours with. You use all the DLC that you bought straight into the VR game, and you play with your PC friend in co-op.
So that sounds fantastic. With 55 levels, that means that we must be the biggest VR game to launch to date. Is that correct?
I would say that's a world record, yes, by far.
Are we opening up any type of beta for the players to be able to test out the features before we launch?
For a game of this massive size, we need a lot of testers. So we are going to open a few slots during the year, so 2017 already, for testers from the Payday community to come in, play the VR, give us feedback, a couple of rounds before we're ready to go. And as the game is going into Payday as an expansion, you only need to own Payday to play the test.
So new platforms for Payday sounds really exciting. And Payday Mobile is also something that we're working on?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we showed it at E3 last year. Played great. Still playing fantastic. We're expanding the game in the background. There's a lot of interesting angles of Payday that we didn't think about with Versus. And I think it's something really new that the Payday audience will find interesting. Also for the future, you know, whatever comes up in the next Payday, right? This is something important to us, how to play on the mobile, how to play on the PC, and how we make them come together in the end. So I'm really excited about Crime War.
Moving our franchises over to the Asian markets was something we talked about early last year. Anything you can share?
Asia is an enigma, and we're decoding it together with Smilegate. It will take some time to get it right and to figure out the mechanics behind the Asian gamer. We started with Dead by Daylight, and actually Dead by Daylight's largest market right now is China, even on Steam, which is rather amazing. And we're actually shaping the game for the Chinese as well as the Western. So this is already happening. With Crossfire, we're continuously doing this for years within the organization. The teams are learning about Asian gaming, they're learning about tastes, and we're also bridging from East to West. So it's a really good exercise for us to bring all of our IPs, such as Payday and Walking Dead, into that market eventually.
So 2016 was an extraordinarily busy year for us. We did so many things. We gained some fantastic partnerships, we acquired a lot of companies, and we realized our StarVR headset for the first time with a customer in location-based markets. So we have an extraordinary tech, and we're first to market with so many technologies. And as such, we've chosen to go towards enterprise and business-to-business users. Could you expand a little bit about that?
Yeah, the rationale behind making a high-end headset and going for that market is obviously that, you know, the home market, you have to hit the lowest denominator. You know, the low-spec machines, and it's also been the problem for us in console, for example, right, where our graphics need to be lower to fit as many people as possible at home to make the price come down. With StarVR, we said from the beginning that location-based will be our market. We pushed really hard to get a high-end headset to show you something that you couldn't get at home.
So the StarVR is the high-end premium segment of VR where we push the specifications above and beyond what normal home users can expect to have. How would you, for someone who's not that used to the tech, how would you explain it in, for example, computing terms?
Well, the need for computing power behind this is obviously awesome, right? You need a proper rig to run this, or a server even. But the tech itself, I would compare it like this: a laptop that is barely good for gaming compared to a Blade server in terms of
So the laptop,
capacity.
kind of your average Chromebook, low
Something like
price
that,
and
right?
computer, yeah. So we're basically in the professional market.
We're in the
price
professional market, enterprise, you know, big crowds, theme parks, those kind of things, like architects that need like high-end visuals. And of course, you want to use it for gaming too, but that you do outside your home. You go with your friends and you play at LBEs, like arcades or bigger places. But still, it's a high-end specification, but feel it, it's lightweight.
It's super light and with a very interesting form factor. I mean, it's like nothing else on the market right now, basically.
It looks like some kind of, space robot, right?
Could be.
Yeah, I would
be.
like to play that.
I would definitely like to play that. Yeah. So what have we learned? We've been live in IMAX's VR centers now since January. And VR is such a new immersive tech. I mean, it's been around for decades, but still there's a lot to learn because the tech keeps on evolving and the rules keep on changing. Yeah. What have we learned from being in the IMAX VR center and seeing customers actually engaging in our experiences?
That people get adrenaline like crazy from playing VR, especially with this kind of immersive field of view. And to immerse them into anything like a gray box environment, it's pretty simple. But if you pump up the graphics, people go absolutely bananas. It's been really fun to watch.
So we're working also with a lot of custom peripherals.
Yeah. So like we have like an MP5 or similar, like an AR for some experiences. We're building 5 different experiences right now. Where one has an actual raft for 4 people, with paddles and everything.
I can totally see myself poling my way through the Amazon.
It's pretty amazing stuff, and obviously you can have a raft at home, if you don't have a big ass home, but.
But also Apex. I mean, being a giant cybernetic monkey on top of a building, that's not an experience you can get at home.
It's radioactive monkey too.
Radioactive monkey,
and you don't want to have radioactive monkeys at home either.
No.
So keep them at the location-based centers using the Star VR. That's what we want you to do.
So tell me, how's the partnership with Acer going?
It's a fantastic partnership. It's beyond what I expected. They are really responsive. Professional, and this is really interesting because we work with an Asian company that has 160 locations in the world where they service the product, so they have an enormous experience from field use of equipment, and this is really something that we can use within the Star VR headset. As a whole, the Star VR joint venture is becoming its own company with its own employees. And it's something that's accelerating our ability to cater to the market, both in the entertainment space, but also in the B2B space. I think it's going to be a great asset for Starbreeze in the future, not only propelling our own VR solutions and content, but also others. And I'm really excited to be working with the great team at Acer and at Star VR.
So speaking of enterprise and Star VR, what's required to actually be able to move in that direction as an enterprise solution provider?
Well, not only the headset itself, right? You need to have a wide selection of tools available. You need to have an SDK. You need to have an engineering team that can travel the world and visit different parts of industries. You need to have an understanding outside of gaming, obviously. With Acer in collaboration with us, this is obviously going much, much quicker than we expected. And Star VR, the joint venture, is now learning to deal with all these enterprise solutions. I think as a game developer, it's almost impossible to cater to this market. So what we've done in this joint venture is really beneficial to our VR initiative.
So we added NoZone to our VR ecosystem last year, and they have the fantastic Presence tech. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Presence is a way to bring real VFX and CGI into VR. Lots of VR has been done by game developers so far, and some VFX companies have tried to do it real time. What Presence does is to bring movie assets into VR and render them just as in a movie. Different being you can walk around inside the movie. We believe that this could be a really interesting technology to be used at the location-based entertainment centers, such as cinematic VR, for example.
So it sounds like you could actually use Presence as a tool to export CGI or VFX from any large-scale Hollywood movie production pipeline?
Exactly. It'll take you a little time. It requires quite a bit of hardware, but it's something extraordinary, out of this world that you can't get at home. So it fits perfectly with the Starbreeze agenda in VR.
So for your vision of the future, you want to present us with an inspirational piece of the VR ecosystem and where we're going. Would you like to give an introduction?
I want to show you how it looks when we put all the pieces together. All the technological leaps we've done, all the IPs that we pulled in, all the effort we put into the VR. When we put all this together with our background as a first-person shooter studio, something exceptional comes out. We've been working on it for years, and we will be working on it for a few more years to come. So this is really a visionary piece, but we have a lot of these pieces ready. Some of them are still in the lab, but once they're done and everything fits together, this is exactly what all first-person shooter gamers want to play.
As the resident control freak and investor relations person of Starbreeze, this is a visionary piece, right? We're not saying that it's going to be out tomorrow. It's more like a soon-ish thing, correct?
No, this is done when it's done, when it's perfect and when it's fun. And this is something that we worked on for years and we will continue working on for years. Now it's finally time to show it. And this is going to be epic.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching the show tonight. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, Hila. Get over here. Get over here. Get over here. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Star holders, heisters, everyone else watching, all you Hila Kleiners out there, Papa bless. Thank you so much for thank you so much for watching the stream. I'm heading home. I need to sleep. Thanks again, guys. Really exciting to do this. And from everyone here at Starbreeze Studios and all our partners, see you next time.